That was
Power
really
weight count or
weird.
just the internet?
Hold on. Because I didn't lose internet connection. What's going on? Okay.
Check.
I mean, we're back. I didn't lose internet connection. Zoom crashed. Sorry, that was really weird. Because I got disconnected. I still had internet connection. Zoom disconnected. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
I can't hear you.
You can't hear me?
Son of a gun. I might have to leave and come back. Wait, say something again?
Check.
Okay, I hear Garden. I don't hear you, Snork. You guys can hear me?
I can hear you, dude.
I just can't hear Snork.
Finishing up my stuff.
Can you hear Snork, Garden?
I cannot hear Snork.
Can you exit and come back in? Okay. That's weird.
As far as assassins, man, there's always been assassins, and there's assassins at every level of society.
Yeah. Yeah.
From the lowest to the highest.
Yeah.
Go down to some Mexico City ghetto and hire an assassin.
From the cartels?
Just some fucking crack addict.
Yeah.
Is that better?
Yep, I hear you.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, that disconnect must have had an issue or something.
Me and my cow chorus here.
Holy smokes.
You're running a damn factory farm behind that screen.
I can't keep things hidden from you guys forever.
I gotta see you. Wow. Hold on. Things just get weirder.
What's weird?
What's in the trout's stomach? Or what was? So the trout weighed 6 pounds, the one that the guy caught. And downloaded and shared. Oh, did it? Okay. Okay, here we go. Wait, is my stream still going? Did it come back up?
I'm showing movement on the stream.
Okay.
It looks like it's a lot higher quality.
What? I thought it was higher quality before.
No, I was real fuzzy before.
That's weird. All right.
So did either of you guys check out Jamal's interview with Jimmy Dore?
The tail
I
end
got
of it.
through
So,
half of it.
So the picture that I'm sharing, that was what was in the 6-pound trout's stomach. It had a lot of rocks.
Yeah, they have, you know, what is it called? Like there's a name for it. They use rocks to facilitate digestion. Is that the way trout are as well?
I don't know. My thought is sometimes they eat a lot of crayfish, and they probably, while they're eating them, probably suck up some rocks. That's my hypothesis.
They're vicious, man. These fish are vicious.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever watched fish behavior? It's pretty fucking brutal. They don't compete with one another so much, but I'd hate to be smaller than them.
Yeah, small fish in a small pond with a whole bunch of big fish. It's just not a good not a good situation to be in.
But I caught the whole interview today with Jimmy Dore. It was pretty good. Like, you know, Jamal asked him some tough questions, and they talked about a variety of issues.
But I mean, we all agree with those same issues. It's just the thing that's starting to get old to me. I mean, we're all in agreement for a majority of our stuff. It's just, what do we do now? And yeah, I guess that's the biggest question. I mean, do we just keep making these little small gains like the Green Party is doing? And hopefully, you know, maybe eventually in 60 years, we'll have like a Green Party minority between the three-party system. But 60 years, is that too late?
I think it's too late. That's why I still think the most viable thing for my state is to stay within the Democratic Party and try to guide them. And I have a meeting on Friday to do just that.
I don't agree with that, but I mean, at least it's better than. That's an option. I mean, that's.
Well, the Green Party is no option here.
Well, it's just, you know, the Democratic Party, you're going to, like, in order to influence them, you need to gain control of the fundraising apparatus. And they've made that almost impossible.
Well,
like,
yeah.
It's not going to be a matter of popular opinion that reforms the Democrats. It's either going to be us suing the shit out of them in the courts, having the courts enact these changes, or, you know, fracturing their fundraising base to the point where it's no longer like the deciding factor. And that's a decades-long process.
Well, they're pretty bad off right now. The last election cycle drained access to any kind of funding. So every dollar there was that could go up to try to help Hillary win went there. Locals were cut off from their funding. Even when they raised money for their local run, it still got usurped and sent up for the Empress to try to stay in power.
Well, they can pour money in from other states.
But they don't.
If they need to, you'll find that they probably will.
It's more the other states have more priority. Anywhere that like Nancy Pelosi's got to run again. She took a beating, so a massive amount of money is going to pour back to California for her.
Well, if you notice that there is a lot of kind of negative press coming out of the Democratic elements of the Democratic Party itself against people like Pelosi and Weinstein, right?
Yeah.
So this could actually be a pressure put on them to say, hey, you're going to pay for part of your next campaign if you want to run and you want our full support. Well, so it could be a way to get them to kind of fund their own campaigns so they could free up funds elsewhere. I mean, they are pressuring these, senior representatives and whatnot.
In the past, though, they didn't need to spend much money. Nancy Pelosi, one of the reasons she is so much power is that she was the funder for so many other. She knew who to ask money for, who to get money for, and what secrets you had to give to be able to get the money. And so her most powerful thing was her ability to put people in touch with money that could help them win. And so you're going to find that they're going to be very touchy about losing what, they're still clinging to her as the one to park next to if they want to survive.
Her being Pelosi.
Yeah. And Feinstein. Feinstein is getting asked, to clean up her act by so many Democrats. Nancy Pelosi is getting hit. Like she doesn't understand why everybody's hitting at her. But in her mind, she's doing the best that she could do. But again, Nancy Pelosi is the one that directs money to your account, decides whether or not you get funding. So the Democratic Party, very few people want to upset her.
But nonetheless, we're seeing people going after her.
That's true.
So that's an indication that her power is waning, or they're in a position where they finally think they can pressure her into doing something. And the question is, what are they trying to pressure her into doing? My guess is it probably has to do with fundraising.
Hey, Shirley.
Hey.
Hey, Shirley, what's up?
Oh.
Do you know that in California yesterday, they took off thousands of people from the voting rolls?
110,000?
No, thousands of people off the voting rolls. I think it was something like 100-something thousand.
110,000?
They thought they were registered, and they weren't.
Correct that, 112,000.
Yeah, the Democrats up there shenanigans, because I don't know how Feinstein won again, because I saw protesters outside her rally.
Yeah, you probably hit the nail on the head. They're probably people who are identified as protesters.
And the department, before Obama left, he had Department of Homeland Security handling the polling station. And they were caught, I think it was 11 different states during the primary in 2016, because people said some funny stuff was going on with their state polling stations. And Homeland Security had to admit it was them, and they didn't know why it was them, what they were doing in there.
Are you talking about in 2016, or are you talking about
Yes,
this happened again?
In 2016.
Okay.
I don't know if it happened again. It probably happened again because I don't know how Feinstein won.
Money, money, money.
Rigging.
Yep.
Yes, it was rigged. It was rigged.
Yeah. I mean, they did it once before. Did nothing happen to them, so what's going to stop them from doing it again? That's what happens when...
What was voter participation like? Are there any numbers on that? Do you know?
Well, they said the Republicans was up.
The blue wave.
My husband said, no. My husband told me, no, it was the Democrats. I'm like, no, the Republicans was up. It wasn't no blue wave yesterday.
I knew, like, I thought maybe they'd pick up some seats or whatever, but as soon as they started with this blue wave shit, I was like, that's not going to happen. People don't like your party.
Hey, Garden, I was watching a little clip of TYT when Chink was talking about the voting, and you know how he was pushing that Allison shit, kept saying she's gonna win.
Uh-huh.
And then he was like, he mentioned some other candidate. You didn't see him on the list that Chink had.
That dude that he was calling a Nazi.
Yeah, and he said, well, he did get funding from the DCCC. That's a great group to get funding from. I'm like, oh, fuck, he really confirmed they with the DNC.
Someone's got to put a rein on that. We can't have, like, these media organizations going around, like, imagine if, like, I mean, MSNBC, I guess, kind of already does that, and a lot of these ones do, but, like, not to this level, where, like, a media organization is directly funding and promoting a candidate and running PACs to promote candidates.
Yeah.
That's not right.
And didn't Allison run on...
Don't let Jenks hear you say that.
Shit.
Didn't she run on Democratic money? I think I don't know if the DCCC get money, but I think so.
Well, the crazy thing about Jenk's spiel on that whole Nazi thing was that Allison was like at 0% or 1% or something. And Jenk was like, we got to get people out there because, like, if it comes down between this Nazi and Allison, it's going to be close. And we don't want this Nazi in office. And, like, neither of them had a chance of winning. It's like that just Jenk was trying to pump up the numbers for Allison. So, like, it wasn't a complete humiliation at the end, which it kind of ended up being anyway.
I got something to show you. Hey, Shirl.
Hey, Ryan.
Hey, how you doing? Can you see the screen?
I'm not on Zoom.
Can you? But you can't see us at all.
I can see you.
No, I can see you guys on YouTube, but I can't see Zoom.
All right, I got something to show you. Ready?
Okay.
Ready?
Oh God.
Uh-oh.
Oh God.
76 hertz.
So they're just
Philadelphia.
They're just as unimportant.
The Sixers.
That's kidding. When have the Sixers ever been good? Charles Barkley days, and they still didn't win a championship.
Well, I'm hearing they had a pretty good team last season.
LeBron James is going to go to Philadelphia.
What?
You think so?
Yep.
I don't know.
If you look at how Philly had gone from last season to this season, they'd gone from like second last to third in the conference. So
you're talking Eastern Conference. It's not really.
Yeah. Still, I mean, to go from second last to third top in one season, and then you've got things like JJ Redick, Ben Simmons, Joel Embiid. It's going to be a gun side if they get LeBron, Because LeBron's just looking for somewhere to go. He doesn't care about money.
He's getting older too, man.
Yeah.
He wants to
And he
increase
shouldn't
his.
care about a ring.
Yeah. He just wants to make sure he gets in the best of all time, greatest of all time talks.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Gosh, I haven't followed basketball. I was a diehard basketball fan. I would watch
Me too.
everything. Like every game, I'd have the NBA league. I'd look at this. Even the games I couldn't watch, I would look at the statistics the next day. I'd be in fantasy basketball. Now I'm like out of it.
I had been tricking my husband and my son was like, Sixers are good this year. I'm like, really? Who's playing? I don't even know the players.
Yeah.
I used to know the players.
Yeah. I used to know the players on every team. Even some of the bench guys. That's that's just
And all day today, I had to hear about the Eagles. OMG.
Yeah. Remember all those people who kind of know all those stats for like baseball? I was kind of like that for basketball. It's just, when you just kind of when you're in that system and you're just kind of like don't see anything else going on, all your energy is just on really empty stuff. Like
bread and circuses.
Yeah, who cares how much you know about basketball and basketball teams and statistics and all this stuff? It's
Hey, Dave.
How you doing,
hear
Cheryl?
us?
Yeah, I can hear
I'm
you.
doing fine. Hey, y'all hear Colin Kaepernick got a new job?
nuh-uh.
Yeah,
Was he-
it's not with sports.
Selling hot dogs at the stands?
No, an Emmy Award-winning producer hired him. He's going to have a show on TV.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah. Do you know what channel?
I'm not sure. They didn't say what channel it'll be on, but they say it's going to be really interesting.
I
don't
so.
think he's going to be playing in it, but he's going to help write the story and all.
Yeah.
Oh, it's like his life story or his freaking story about,
It's something talking about being in high school. I guess playing basketball. Yeah. But they say it's going to be interesting.
A channel that I've watched, or it's a newest channel. I'm going to share it and play it so everyone can watch it. It's called After School. There's only a couple videos, but it looks pretty good. I'm going to share it for you guys. I think I want to do this because I've seen it like go through a lot of different types of channels just to kind of see what's out there, and sometimes there's just small channels. I mean, no one watches except for me, and sometimes there's big channels. And as for a big channel, this one looks actually pretty decent. And this is what so people who watched online visual unity for Jay, and I'm gonna do a video about that tomorrow. This one is Suzie Dawson was talking about how just use whatever you have to help out, with the cause. If you're good at arts, use your arts, and here's a good example of it.
Be happy with what you got. Because the owners of this country don't want that. I'm talking about the real owners now. The big, wealthy business interests that control things and make all the important decisions. Forget the politicians. Politicians are put there to give you the idea that you have freedom of choice. You don't. You have no choice. You have owners. They own you. They own everything. They own all the important land. They own and control the corporations. They've long since bought and paid for the Senate, the Congress, the state houses, the city halls. They got the judges in their back pockets. And they own all the big media companies, so they control just about all of the news and information you get to hear. They got you by the balls. They spend billions of dollars every year lobbying to get what they want. Well, we know what they want. They want more for themselves and less for everybody else. But I'll tell you what they don't want. They don't want a population of citizens capable of critical thinking. They don't want well-informed, well-educated people capable of critical thinking. They're not interested in that. That doesn't help them. That's against their interest. That's right. They don't want people who are smart enough to sit around the kitchen table and figure out how badly they're getting fucked by a system that threw them overboard 30 fucking years ago. They don't want that. You know what they want? They want obedient workers. Obedient workers. People who are just smart enough to run the machines and do the paperwork and just dumb enough to passively accept all these increasingly shittier jobs with the lower pay, the longer hours, the reduced benefits, the end of overtime, and the vanishing pension that disappears the minute you go to collect it. And now they're coming for your Social Security money. They want your fucking retirement money. They want it back, so they can give it to their criminal friends on Wall Street. And you know something? They'll get it. They'll get it all from you sooner or later, because they own this fucking place. It's a big club, and you ain't in it. You and I are not in the big club. And by the way, it's the same big club they use to beat you over the head with all day long when they tell you what to believe. All day long, beating you over the head in their media, telling you what to believe, what to think, and what to buy. The table is tilted, folks. The game is rigged. And nobody seems to notice. Nobody seems to care. Good, honest, hard-working people, white collar, blue collar, doesn't matter what color shirt you have on. Good, honest, hard-working people continue. These are people of modest means. Continue to elect these rich cocksuckers who don't give a fuck about them. They don't give a fuck about you. They don't give a fuck about you. They don't care about you at all. At all. At all. Man. It's called the American Dream, because you have to be asleep to believe it.
Anyways, I thought that was cool. I mean, all it is just George Carlin, 3-minute piece of George Carlin. We all know about it. We all heard it. We love George Carlin. And,
you know, that's my favorite George Carlin speech, too.
Yeah.
That's my favorite George Carlin speech of all time.
And all that person did was just illustrate stuff while he's making that stand-up bit. And it was awesome. And there's a lot of views to it. I mean, so that's something that people can do. I mean,
and Gordon, is he still here?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Remember in the interview with Jimmy Dore with Jamal, and he asked, and he was talking to him, and he explaining about his father, and he said his father back then knew the system was rigged when he was a kid.
He said what?
His father knew the system was rigged, the voting.
Yeah, well, he was talking about his dad and bowing down to some bishop or something. Is that what you're talking about? Yeah,
kissing his ring.
Yeah.
And he woke the hell up.
It's ridiculous, man. A bishop and a cardinal literally walks around with thousands and thousands of dollars of silk and gold on them when they're all dressed up in their getup. Catholic churches covered in fucking gold. You know, how can you claim to be an adherent of Jesus's teachings and do that? It just makes no sense. Making people.
But Jimmy Dore said that ring he kissed, it wasn't the bishop. I forgot what he was, but the other guy was a bishop.
Yeah, there was.
And
some
that's when he really lost respect for his father.
Jimmy's always ragging out his dad out. It's like, my dad used to beat me, like all this other crazy stuff.
I think he was kind of like the black sheep of the family, because I heard him talk about his growing up. Because there's like 6 of them.
Yeah, there's some Irish Catholic family or something. And
I believe he had 12 siblings.
Oh, really?
Oh, it's 12.
Comedians tend to be the black sheep. Because they, they rag on their family. Families sometimes don't like that.
Well, he's always bitching about his brother too. He's like, my brother's an asshole. Blah, blah.
Brothers generally are to other brothers. So, but I wanted to mention something. I know I said it yesterday. I mentioned it, and now I got clarity on it. I think I mentioned there's a land deal on Long Island. I didn't realize there are actually 2 land deals by the same company. 5-star what the hell is that? 5-Star Aviation, owned by Nader, spelled like Ralph Nader's last name, and Garmezian. Guy's a Canadian-Iranian. Thing is, one parcel of land, they're going to put all sorts of industrial parks and junk on, and another part of land, they're going to, they're planning on putting housing on. The housing, what they want to do is clear 1,600 of 3,000 acres of pine barren land. So they're going to deforest or the deforestation to put up freaking condos and stuff like that. That's what they're trying to do. It's like, as I
They're
said,
gonna provoke the Jersey Devil, dude.
God,
It's gonna come out of the pine barrens and start ripping people up.
Oh my God, it's like Mr. Potter almost. So, and these guys are talking, natural gas, coal, chemical companies, all sorts of crap on the other parcel of land, and ironic, like casinos and water parks right next to the industrial shit.
It's perfectly safe, Dave.
Yeah, and then they'll have Anna Kasparian's friggin' amusement park right next to it.
Well, you got gardening.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
It'll be like a giant, shaped like a giant high heel. So
I'll be begging for tickets. We'll be more like it.
You'll buy tickets from the scalpers.
I probably have a restraining order against me to get approaching the park.
Oh, Eben, you mentioned Suzie.
Yeah.
Susie's going to have, or she is scheduled to be a guest on a live stream in New York City on Saturday. The issue is that apparently all her websites are down, and her, I don't know if it's her internet or she, will have any connectivity at all. And she basically stated in a tweet, it's very suspicious that right before another live stream event, her connectivity is screwed up. I think they were saying that she didn't pay $20 on a bill or something.
Yeah, I saw that. I was gonna do a focus video on it tomorrow.
Cool.
Or
I'm gonna go to that live stream event anyway, and I'm asking her, is there anything you want me to say in case she can't go on? I mean, it's just pretty suspicious.
Yeah. Is it? I mean, there's ways around it. I mean, but we could discuss. I haven't looked into the details too much. It's just been a glorified babysitter for my son the last few days, which is actually nice because today he was feeling better, so he'll be back in daycare tomorrow. But that was actually the first these last couple of days, like the first just me and him days, which is
dude. After working on After Hours for almost after a year, I would figure you'd be used to babysitting. Boom! There, I got it in. Bang!
Hey, what do you guys think about Kim.com talking about starting his own social media website?
If it works, I'm excited about it.
He's talking about adding on Assange and who else? Someone else.
Somebody's already talking about it's been co-opted. I
heard a rumor.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no give us evidence type of thing,
Of course, that's what people do. They just, I heard Kim.com got Kim Kardashian pregnant, and there's no friggin' evidence, and he wasn't even in the country at the time, and it's like, and people are like, ooh, I heard this.
I'm done with Kim.com's games, dude. I don't really blame him for playing it because he got screwed over. Yeah. All right, and he's trying to find a way to get his assets back and to get a proper passport and all this. So I guess I don't blame him too much, but I'm done with that shit.
Whether you're not done with him, if he creates a resource that we can use, I'm going to use it.
Yeah.
Unless I mean, why not? Unless he, is accused of something horrendous, like, pedophilia. Oh, wait a minute, he could be a freaking senator or a congressman, or at least run. What the hell? That's what I don't understand. Listen, I understand where you're coming from with Kim.com. I didn't understand the whole, like beefing up the Seth Rich thing and then nothing came of it. I didn't understand that, but at the same time, he's pushing the cause for free speech. So,
well, once he starts doing more than talking, then
if he actually creates
more attention,
yeah. If he actually creates a resource that can be used, absolutely, I'm in.
But it seems a lot like, I mean, we've got Gab.ai.
Right.
So, I mean, when I was watching the vigil, he was mentioning it was going to be just, something like Twitter. But we already have something like Twitter. Just no one really uses it too much, right?
Wasn't there was another, what's the guy's name? He was a live streamer, always hung out with Claudia and Saint Progressive, and he was talking about, yes, him. Mm-hmm. And they were going to build a platform. I haven't seen anything,
I didn't see anything that was built, but I did see Debbie doing a commercial for a platform with someone else. I don't know what that was. Maybe
I would imagine that the costs are phenomenal, just for the bandwidth and for the speed.
Well, the thing is, you don't worry about that until you get people in. For example, if I build something, I'm only expecting a few hundred people on just a local server. First, it's getting that few hundred people in, and then expand on that. Okay, got a few hundred people in. Do we have enough money for a server? No. So how do we get money? We're going to have to start charging. And so
right.
You have to figure out the cost. But I mean, that's also the thing is, how is whoever's creating these platforms, how are they generating revenue, and how much revenue, revenue is being used to do more on the platform, and are there any investors behind it? I mean, if they build it and someone finds out that the investors are like the Koch brothers or George Soros, or someone that's kind of related, maybe, and it's like, I don't know. I don't see that as a good thing.
Now there's someone that I just met through the Green Party who works through public access radio and public access television, and she's talking about getting, what's that with the smiley face puking green? Was that as soon as I say Green Party, you're like,
I'm expressing my displeasure over something.
Oh, okay. But she was talking about trying to get public access television for different towns on Long Island. I don't know how. I would imagine it's pretty difficult to do, just to get support for it. But I would imagine it would be good for educational purposes. But my thing is, the hell with him. Trying to make a serious point. Every year in our school districts, they have a cultural program where every year they pick a country. Thing is, why not have a Zoom and try to? I don't know how viable it would be with certain countries. Maybe it would be better with some than others, but just have a Zoom and have the kids ask one another questions. If you have like a 30-minute Zoom, it would be free.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, people haven't thought about it yet. Like, for example, what I'm gonna need, or if we want to try to make an actual show, like a one-on-one interview thing, I think there are options. So I'm gonna have a green screen in the back, right? And so all someone else needs is green screen in the back for them, And so basically what I have is one image. The one that I'm on is on the left side. The one that the other person is on the right side. So it looks like we're actually in a legitimate surrounding. Studio, whatever. And so you have these, instead of having this big portrait, it's just a one-on-one thing. So it just looks like we're in the same building.
Yeah.
Yeah. So but all it is just cut shots of one another.
You could have New York City in the background and throw pencils. Oh, wait a minute. That's already been done.
But one thing I hate about that is it's visual propaganda because it's fake. And like, what does it really matter how we look or how legitimate it looks when all it is you're just, what's important is what's being said, what's being stated. So, I mean, it's like you get the views, but then you get the visual propaganda. I don't know how I feel about that.
My thing is, have the desk behind me, and I mean, this is what it is.
Yeah.
I don't know. Have you taken a look at Nick Nimmin before?
No.
Nick Nimmin is like a guy who talks about how to YouTube and different tips and all that kind of thing. Like if I'm talking about diet, he said, reflect the environment. Don't have like 500 Pepsi cans behind you when you're talking about eating right.
Yeah.
So that might, might torpedo me.
I mean, I think we're kind of already in the screwed list. I mean, at a certain rate, you should have accumulation of small, like new people that see your show and they subscribe to it, that they may find something that they like. And you explore a whole bunch, and maybe like, for example, if I just did Star Wars videos and really well done Star Wars videos, am I going to get people to join? Because when you look at all those videos out there for Star Wars, people got big really fast because all they did was Star Wars stuff, and they found that, okay, if I do Star Wars, people are going to come and watch my show. So there's an experiment is, do I waste some time to go ahead and just make Star Wars videos and see how I grow? Or is it going to just be a dud just because I'm on some blacklist on YouTube that I don't know about just because of the content that I create?
Well, the other thing, if you create a show, how much money do you have to spend? If you're doing something on something popular like that, how much money do you have to spend to show clips?
Oh, you don't have to spend any money. I mean, it's
copyright strikes.
Yeah, you get copyright strike, but the ones who get money from the views is going to be Disney or whatever through YouTube. So I mean, as long as you state and point out that, hey, my content is educational in nature. We're showing clips. We're not showing like full movie clips, whatever we're showing.
Right.
We know we're gonna get copyright strike, but
or 12 hours of a Weather Channel.
Yeah.
It is educational. I mean, fuck.
Yeah.
And
it's fine. They could just grab money from it. I mean, why wouldn't they want monetization from it from like 100 different restreams? It doesn't make sense that they would stifle it. I mean, if it's just a restream, get the money from the additional restream. So.
Yeah, to me that doesn't make sense.
Yeah. So
see, when you did that, you got a ton of views. But what my thing was, did you get any money out of it?
No, I didn't monetize.
So I don't really understand. How can you get a copyright strike if you're not using? Is it just because you got 1 billion views?
I don't know. They say, hey, you didn't follow the community guidelines. You're suspended from live streaming for 3 months.
I'll be like Dr. Johnny Fever. I'll just say booger like 40 times.
Yeah. I mean, maybe it's because I didn't monetize it. Because if I don't monetize it, they don't get anything by just doing a copyright strike. So, because I don't know. I don't know how it goes. Some things just don't make sense.
Well, I mean, that's the whole thing. That's the whole thing with that. I mean, for me, it's you need to have concrete rules that make sense, and YouTube's guidelines. It just, I mean, when you get a warning or you get suspended. It just says you're in violation of the guidelines.
Yeah.
And it might even give you like vague, like, you know, you can't do this, but you have to interpret, well, you know, what the hell, how did I violate that?
Yeah.
In some ways. I mean, I've seen so many videos in which people are like, okay, trying to analyze why they got a copyright strike. Even like internet lawyers are like, okay, I don't get it.
Yeah.
You know, and Tim Pool was suspended from one of his channels, and he's still trying to figure it out.
My guess, or the best guess I've got is that I wasn't there to cut off all the commercials in time because I was restreaming from my local TV while I still had cable.
No, that's
so the thing is, even though they might make some money, a small paltry amount from YouTube, they're not making money from showing the commercials.
Right.
No,
that's exactly what it is.
Yeah, that's my best guess. Because even they don't care about making money from YouTube, from all the people who watched it. They would make a lot more money showing it from the commercials for the people who pay.
Plus, you know, let's say I'm freaking Coca-Cola or whatever, and Coca-Cola will notice, hey, there's a 1,000 people live streaming this, and we don't have to, because 1,000 people are live streaming this, we're getting more exposure, so we don't have to pay the Weather Channel as much.
Yeah. So it's all about money. And
you know, Garden Gnome, you know, make sure you don't get a copyright strike for emojis. What the hell is that thing?
It's one of these emojis that comes with this program.
He's a Luciferian. He just wants to ruin us. It's okay. Free speech.
That's a warning, man. You see the look on that thing's face, and you see how the clock is going down. What does that tell you?
I'm against the Luciferians, but you know, I respect their right to believe their asshole like beliefs.
The Luciferians are assholes.
Kind of looks like a satanic symbol with the horns and the straight lines. Looks like some kind of Luciferian symbol if you try to ignore the letters.
Yeah. Like Seinfeld. I hate Luciferians. Not that there's anything wrong with them.
No, not that there's anything wrong with it.
Yeah.
Lucifer is the light bringer. You guys are always after enlightenment, right?
All right, Shirley, what are you saying?
I believe I was watching Hard Bastard. He showed a clip of Morning Joe, and they was talking about, because you know Bill Clinton now, he on his book tour now.
Oh, good.
And he said, why is Chelsea and Hillary attaching themselves to this hashtag Me Too movement?
They got nothing else.
Because of all rapes he is accused of, and I think one of the victims is asking them to prosecute him like Weinstein.
Yeah, I think I was watching that. Yeah, he's immune. He's an ex-president, though.
They wanted to say, "Oh, we still need the Clintons," and Mika was like, "No."
The thing is, even if, I don't think Bill Clinton was a pedophile just because he just liked that. Probably.
No, not a pedophile. He was a rapist.
Oh, a rapist. Yeah. But
yeah,
the thing is, you can't. Can you like imprison him, an ex-president? That's never occurred before.
Again, if we keep using the term pedophile, we could be opening ourselves to lawsuits. Use the correct term, a phebophile.
So why would, because both are illegal, so why would one open us up to lawsuits whereas the other wouldn't?
Because one could admit that he's in a phebophile and be diagnosed as an ephebophile when everybody else is charging him with pedophilia, which is a completely different mental disease. So if it's inaccurate, he's not guilty.
Well,
not guilty, then what you say about him being that is libel.
when I speak of Dennis Hastert or Nathan Larson, we know their history. So
again, we have to be careful there. What age did I think he taught 8th grade?
Hastert?
Yeah, which is a gray area because that's boundary between ephebophiles and pedophiles.
Well, let's just say the short term. Call it pedo.
I
mean,
never
pedo
heard
isn't
of people
necessarily
foul.
anything.
A ephebophile is basically, it's like a pedophile, but it's for people post puberty.
Oh, okay.
How do you pronounce it?
A ephebophile. EPHEBEPHILE.
Is the initial E silent?
No, I just
ephebophile.
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 So
Okay.
what you saying? They doing babies and children under.
There's actually a different one for under 2, I believe. But I don't remember that. It's enough for me to remember the difference between a ephebophile and pedophile.
That's why everyone should adopt E prime as a way of speaking. Just eliminate
But
it.
my thing, Gordon, my thing is they ran on this with Merkel. That Congressman Merkel going to, he was in Texas and he saw the camp. And I'm like, what they getting all excited about? Where were they at when Obama, he opened those things up?
So,
it's all politics. They don't care.
Snork, there is a disobedient media news story for Hastert, and they talk about it back. I think it was dated December of 2017, and I'm going to share the screen. It basically states that a judge put a restraining order against Hastert from being alone with kids under 18. So, I mean, you could say that's more accurate.
That's more accurate. However, there's another thing. Do you like chocolate ice cream?
Not really.
Okay, let's say you like chocolate and like vanilla ice cream.
Right.
It's possible to like both.
Right.
Well, you can be both an ephebophile and a pedophile.
Okay.
Well, and of course, like there's lots of adults. There's like theories that state that the majority of men are pedophiles. I don't agree with these theories.
No.
But during the course of watching their argument, like there were clear demonstrations of people being kind of pansexual in that sense, where they're attracted to adults, they're attracted to kids, like, so you have those people too.
Yeah, no, but they separate the women from the men. They call the men pedophiles, but they don't call the women that. But they have them registered as sex offenders if they're convicted.
Again, the law is taking a conservative approach and saying sex offender and not putting it down to one single mental disorder. They're using a broad blanket. They're saying minor would be a good way to say it. Underage, sex offender.
Now Nathan Larson, you cannot dispute. He's that independent that ran, and he actually had, until it was taken down, a pedophilia website, and he bragged about that.
I find it funny. I wonder if it's to cast a bad light towards independents.
That's possible too.
It's just mental illness. Like that's just so self-destructive. Like, why would anyone do that? Like, you're just out to sabotage yourself.
I think it's just more to cast a bad light on independent people.
That dude's never going to be able to walk into a public place again. Like, if someone recognizes him,
here's the thing:
fucking attack him.
Here's the thing: he ran one time before, and he actually threatened to shoot and kill President Bush. So
this is mentally ill, dude.
yeah, well, but as I said yesterday, Terry McAuliffe, who was the governor when this whole thing went, he lifted a voting ban on convicted felons, which apparently allowed Larson to run. Now, is anybody going to vote for him? No, but should people be outraged that this guy can even run? I think so, because he openly admits the things that he admits, and he admits to raping his wife.
I would hesitate unless he's been convicted of a crime. Like, he can run. Like, I don't like it, but yeah, I mean, I don't like it, but that's, it would set a bad precedent.
So would it be a crime to...
If he couldn't run.
Would it be a crime to admit that you would cause harm to people who run that self-describe themselves as to raping?
Well, the fact is that this guy shouldn't be able to run because he should have already been institutionalized or declared unfit in some other way. But since he hasn't been, we have to let him run. It's important that we don't set that precedent where we can just make these decisions, without...
Yeah. What I want to know is just the people who vote for him.
Well, they're probably, pedophiles or ephebophiles or both. I said probably. So
I saw this show where there was this kid. He was 19, maybe 20 years old, and he's this Asian kid, and he's sitting there arguing for pedophilia, just fervently arguing for it. And he went on and on and on, and he's made some waves in media. I can't remember what his name is, but
Dennis
I don't know.
Hassert the third?
What's that?
Dennis Hassert the third.
That's a disgusting story when you look into the detail.
Well, what's crazy, this guy just got arrested yesterday in Norristown. He was working for a hospital that do home care and will do rehabilitation for elderly people. And he was working for this 90-something-year-old man.
Oh, God.
And his daughter caught the caretaker having his father, she just see her father's hand going back and forth. I was like, oh my God. And the guy admitted to it. He's in jail now on $50,000 bail. And I'm like, maybe he was with this company for 5 years.
There's so much elder abuse that goes on. It's beyond belief.
And her father said, I knew it wasn't right, but I really couldn't do anything because he was supposed to be taking us to rehabilitation.
Back when I was in college at Virginia Tech, I would say this probably happened in '88 or '89, and it was a big, huge story. There was an ROTC. There was a recruitment, and the kids would, for one night, spend a night in the ROTC dorms. And one of the recruiters was caught performing oral sex on one of the kids, and it was a huge scandal, and everything went nuts. I don't know what eventually happened to that recruiter. I think he was expelled, but I don't think he was charged.
So if we're talking about ROTC, was the kid 18?
Yeah. Oh, actually, I'm not sure because they were still in high school. So it's possible he was 18, but it was possible that he wasn't. It was probably one of those very,
they could still be 18 in high school days.
Yes. No, I said I'm not sure. They could be.
Right.
Yeah.
It's grounds for dismissal either way.
Yeah. That's sexual assault.
So
what
about
the ordinance and people in positions of power interacting that way?
So what are your thoughts about this? Because I knew a guy. He was a cool guy when I used to work at. This was back when I used to work at Microsoft. He's married to someone who's like maybe 4 or 5 years younger than him, but he dated his current wife when she was like 15 and he was like, I don't know, 20. Just they knew each other, but they didn't do anything. Their parents knew, were okay with it, and then they got married when she turned 18. I mean,
yeah, I mean, and that's the way the world used to run. Like everyone used to do that. You know, it's just a matter of each case. I mean, in some cases, these relationships between like 30-year-old men and 16-year-old girls, there's nothing evil about them. Neither party is taking advantage of the other. And when they come of age, they formalize their relationship. But as a matter of law, we can't like we can't just blanket some of these relationships and say, hey, they're all okay, because then we run into, you know, people taking advantage of kids.
Now,
Well-
Gordon, I gotta disagree with you about both of them didn't know. He was older. He knew right from wrong. Dating somebody at 15.
hey, Fly.
Well, I think I brought up.
Yeah, we can't hear
Scandinavian.
you.
Am I still muted?
No, I hear you,
hear
Snark. We just can't hear Snark if he was talking. Fly, you want to do a mic check?
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. How you doing, guys?
Good.
What's up?
What's up?
Hey, the fly.
Hey, Shirley. Good to see you.
Same here.
Yeah.
I'll be right back. I gotta go.
There was a practice in Scandinavia. Pretty much, I knew a Norwegian that up until sometime in the 1900s, it was still practiced. And they called it virgin caging, where if a girl became 16 without getting married, then they would basically have them move out to the shed, and you know, different people, any guy that was willing to put up a dowry if she got pregnant could go in and have sex with her.
Jesus.
And whoever got her pregnant had to pay the dowry and then marry her.
This is in Norway?
Yeah, well, this is practiced throughout Scandinavia,
Oh,
but Norway was the last case of anybody that I'd known that said their grandparents participated.
Well, there's still some parts in the Near East where they do the bride kidnapping thing.
A lot of the Pacific Islands as well.
You go and you just take the bride and run away with her, and then she's yours.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of this, now, to be fair, a lot of this is, you know, it's not as crazy as it sounds, because it's almost like a ritual thing rather than him actually kidnapping her. You know, the families know each other, and the two kids know each other or whatever. But so a lot of it is ritualized, but I'd imagine still some of the non-consensual stuff goes on as well.
Yeah, I've heard from the Pacific Islands, a lot of it is still non-consensual, where the woman will be taken to a part of the island where another family is, and kept for 2 weeks. And then after that, they are pretty much considered worthless if they try to go for another guy after that. So they have no choice but to marry into the rapist family.
Well, and then we have societies that just dispose of their excess women, like the Chinese.
The Indians do as well. You know, they give up girls when they're born, which is getting to be a problem. When China had the ban on having more than one child, a lot of times the girls were not kept.
Well, everyone wants a boy.
Yeah,
In
and they're
China.
having the problem now that there is a slight, but when you have more than 1 billion people, slight is a lot. There's a slight imbalance in that, and they are actually trying to bring in women from other Asian countries.
it keeps leaving.
It would
Oh,
be
fly.
interesting to see if that phenomena is causing an uptick in homosexual behavior, like across that many people.
I don't know. China is a country that has so many facets that people could. It's just so huge, people-wise. so many things you could study.
Yeah, and and some of these communities are isolated. So when we say that, the general trend is one way or the other, there's huge parts of China that are just basically unaffected by those policies.
Well, the farmers in China were released from the one child first.
So, do they still have a population control policy, though, of any sort?
I believe they currently encourage keep your family size down. But they no longer have the one child rule.
It's tough. Like, we're going to have to make some hard choices about population.
Oh, people talk about water as being the source of the next wars. Well,
I believe it.
It's probably going to play a very big factor, but I think unlivable areas and migration is going to be the biggest issue. What's going to happen now in 15 years when India is not happy? Where do 700 million people go?
To Pakistan as an army, right?
Well, again, like I said, there's going to be people closing their borders. We've already seen that. There's going to be people just killing them on sight. Population movement. There's so many places are becoming uninhabitable.
It's hard. It's very hard. I mean, the whole idea of population control and controlling reproduction, it's against some of the basic values of our society. And people don't seem to want to do it willingly. So what do? Like, I don't want to kill off a bunch of people.
It's not just unwilling; they're not even allowed. So many people have these barriers, like religious rules, right, that they can't have birth control. And some of the islands that want birth control can't afford to feed what people they have now. And in order to take charity from organizations such as Catholic Church or the Mormon Church, which provides most of their income, they have to agree not to allow birth control.
And then there's huge parts of the world that just, don't have any idea of birth control. And in fact, have very little idea of basic biological processes.
Well, there are countries that understand birth control, that are poor, poverty-stricken, that are questioning why is United States against birth control but provides it free for us, where they think the United States is trying to birth control them out of existence.
Well, unfortunately, there's a record of these aid organizations going into countries and fucking around in ways that they're not supposed to.
You mean like giving them blankets?
Yeah. Would you like a blanket, sir? That's
we've been there before.
Movie. Yeah, but there's modern examples of it too, and it's caused a distrust. I mean, Red Cross and some of these other organizations are almost acting as arms of governments now.
Well, that's why you can't have a Red Cross. It's viewed as Christian army, not just they view the West almost as a religious army against the Muslim countries. And
well, they have the Red Crescent as well.
That's why they have the Red Crescent. You can't go in there. Red Cross is a target. Red Crescent is where you have to send food aid. They have to turn it over to them, and then it goes out.
It's tough. Haiti can't stand the Red Cross.
Well, Red Cross or Clinton.
Yeah.
It's disgusting.
So you can't have H or a C or a Red Cross on your truck when you go down there.
I forget who I was listening to, but they're like, oh, the press is making Puerto Rico out to be much worse than it is, and things are on the uptick in Puerto Rico. I'm like, are you kidding me?
No.
Is this where we're going with this?
Have you
seen? They still don't have electricity.
And have you seen what's coming?
A massive privatization.
No, trailing disturbances in the area where all of the hurricanes come from.
Trailing disturbances, like atmospheric disturbances.
Yeah. There's one in the Gulf right now. Albert? Or no, that's not right. It's not right.
Well, this is another example of like, hey, disasters don't actually have to be 100% bad things, because they can destroy things, and then when all the destruction is done, you can rebuild things properly if you choose to. Right? So if we could manage disasters that way, it'd be a better world.
But the problem with that, they bring in privatized companies. I heard in the mess halls for the military, they use private companies now.
That is correct.
That the military used to do. That to me, that's a clue. They just want the soldiers out there to freaking fight.
Well, unfortunately, like there's a long history with Puerto Rico hating that naval base that they have there, right? And it seems to me that what they're doing is they're saying, all right, like in this new order, we're kind of tamping down the military base or the naval base. Who knows? We might take it away someday, which is doubtful. But like they're trying to garner popular support by making these privatization efforts as appearing to be an alternative to the old order, so to speak, of that naval base dominating Puerto Rico.
And I'm wondering, are the U.S. military still making their own uniforms? I don't believe so.
No, they aren't. They're made in China.
Jesus Christ, that's a darn shame.
We're going back to making them out of nylon. We know how that ended the last time.
They probably have little resistors and diodes put in them, too.
And if you want to buy anything that's made in America, it's expensive as hell. Just like if you want to buy decent food, it's expensive.
Well, they used to make all that stuff out of synthetic materials, like military uniforms. There was a period where they were doing that until they woke up and realized, hey, this stuff catches on fire, it melts to your skin. So they stopped doing it and they replaced it with, cotton fibers and what have you. Probably other more resistant materials now.
Well, that's crazy because my granddaughter's stuff I buy her clothes are fire, what they call it, something retardant.
Some kind of fire retardant?
Yeah. They do it for children.
Like that same material, like the fire-resistant baby blankets and all that are made out of?
Yes. Yeah.
Everything should be made out of hemp. Your car should be made out of hemp. Frame, at least.
Well, it depends. A cross-link plastic would be okay. A non-cross-link wouldn't. Most cross-link plastics tend to be kind of brittle. But you could use them for some things, like buttons, because a cross-link plastic doesn't burn well.
Does it just break up rather than melt or something?
They have, they break down or whatever, but they don't melt and ooze. So for your boots and all, you want your sole to be pliable. But in military boots, there is a shank. They used to use metal, but that also attracts landmines. Can trigger them. So what you want is a plastic that isn't pliable in it as a shank. There's all kinds of different uses for the different plastics. And the problem is when people think too black or white, they say this is a plastic, this is bad. This is not a plastic, this is good. And there are many cases either way where some fibers, natural fibers, resemble how plastic melts. You don't want that either. Cotton's okay. High heat resistance, wool. Wool doesn't like to burn.
You know, have they developed? Why haven't they developed some kind of like mine detecting boot or something that will alert you to a damn mine, like a boot?
You know how
I believe they have it already. They're just not going to fucking use it.
They probably do have it.
Do you know how
like I believe they have a cure for cancer.
Yeah. Do you know how mine detectors work?
They send out some kind of ping, right?
Do I need to say more? They send out some kind of ping. Anything that sends out some kind of ping can remotely trigger something.
Trigger a mine. But then, you know, the technology's there that mine detectors don't.
Yeah, the trick is don't put it on the boot. Put it on a drone. Put it on a little robot and let it send out there and get blown up.
So how are people able to use mine detectors? It's like handheld sweep detectors.
They use mine detectors and they stop. What's the difference between a mine detector and a boot?
It's in contact with the ground.
No, the boot's in your foot and your foot's moving toward the mine.
I don't. It seems to me
if it's close enough to detect, you're probably about ready to stomp on the mine anyway. Or you're probably close enough that the magnetic signal that it's putting out could trigger the mine.
Well, that's probably the best idea, is just to carry some kind of drone around with you and just throw it up in the air once in a while.
Bunch of drones, yeah, little ground roamers. Everything depends on the thing. Sound. A drone that burrows into the ground and hits the ground can do a radar sample of the ground around it. There are multiple ways, and things like that I think are legitimate military spending.
Yeah,
we don't have to go out, even if we're not at war. We have so many landmines that we have a responsibility that we're shirking. We should be out there trying to pick up every mine that we've made.
There's still some absurd amount of people that die in Vietnam.
Yeah, and there's no reason for a metal mine to be going undetected. It's just greed, laziness.
They don't care.
Yeah, because a metal mine, especially one that's got iron in it, is an easy find.
There's tons of, like, you know, I mean, we're always ranting here about military overspending, and of course it's correct, but there's lots of, I don't want to defund our military. You know, I don't want to inhibit its ability to innovate. Right? So, yeah, defensive uses are acceptable. You create handheld mine-sweeping drones.
And to me, if you've got unemployed people, get them to work. There's tons of stuff like the mine clearing. Right now there is a threat that this might be related to the volcano going off. There are huge rains in Colombia that are threatening Colombia's largest dam, which means that they're going to be at a power loss and lots of loss of life when the dam goes, if it goes. And so many little things that we're not ready for that we could be doing to help. If we actually think that we have everything solved in the United States, we should be going out and helping others.
And you're saying they're related because of the ash plume, because of the
ash plume
weather effects?
Yeah. Tefra's got
Did you guys hear we are causing an uprising in Nicaragua now?
Like we haven't before?
Yeah. I never thought I would live to be in this, to see something like this.
Guess I better check the cows.
Venezuela could have been a sustainable state if we wouldn't have undermined it. Like, I
They
understand
messing over there too.
there's lots of problems with Chavez's system and with Chavez himself, and it's a broke ass country coming out of chaos. But with like a little bit of help from the U.S., it could have been made a stable nation. And instead, we undermined it.
What I'm sick to death of is the right only making Venezuela the example of a socialist country in the world and saying how it's a failed state. When it's not the only socialist country in the world. It's the only socialist country in the world that's failed. But at this rate, at this current time and space, it's the only one that's failed.
Well, I guess you could almost say every socialist country that's failed has failed because of the extreme expense of fighting the United States.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Australia hasn't failed, right? Australia is pretty much socialist.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we very much are a
socialist. They're not fighting the United States.
Exactly, because we're buddies with the United States. That's why.
That would imply equality, sir.
No.
We're not your friends.
No, America is dicking us up the ass. There's no us dicking the Americans up the ass. It's a one-way street, mate.
It's terrible. Terrible. Go around smashing societies like this for fucking no reason.
Wasn't Hillary Clinton there recently, Ryan?
Yeah. She was.
I believe the proper response is she spewed there.
Is that
on her pity tour? No, she was in India when she fell on the steps.
Who knows what she did in Australia? Maybe the Australians caught it and didn't put it on.
She did a seminar with ex-Prime Minister, our first and only female Prime Minister.
Oh,
no, I meant what embarrassing things did she do?
So, they were scissoring up against each other on stage and stuff.
That's a nasty image.
Yeah, it was just a. I mean, if Hillary had a penis, then they all would have been stroking it. So,
well, Hillary's never met a staircase that she could conquer, is the way it seems. 4 steps, and she's got 6 aides around her, 2 of them blocking the camera, and the other 4 trying to help her up the steps.
And Ahmadine is right there.
Well, it seems for a while that she had someone assigned to specifically watch her medical condition. It was that big black dude who always carried around her pens and was always just hovering around her, ready to physically help her do things. And I think he was a medical professional of some sort.
And somebody called her van when she passed out in New York, her medical van. I was rolling. They got all the accessories in here to help her physically.
It's amazing how toxic someone can be. And then heaps of people think that in Australia the Clintons are angels. That's scary. Oh yeah, fucking oath.
They have a high popularity in Australia. Why do you think that is?
Because
hey, how's it going?
Because Australians are stupid. They're
Australia.
No, we are. We're an uneducated country. we don't really take any sort of interest of. We don't really believe in a deep state type thing. You know what I mean? Because we are a conservative country. We are a socialist country, but we are extremely conservative. Most of our governments have been conservative government. So,
well, I could say the United States is a stupid country.
oh yeah,
Yeah, they are. I used to be like, why do Mar he do skits out on the streets? A lot of people don't know who their leaders are. When Bush was in office, they put a picture of Cheney. People, he on the streets asking, who's that? They're like, I don't know who that is. I'm like, oh my God. It's sad.
yeah. I mean, you could go anywhere in Australia, and I mean, most people would be able to pick out maybe back to Reagan. Maybe the modern, like the millennials, probably wouldn't be able to go back. They'd probably be able to go back to George W. Bush, maybe Clinton, and that's as far as back as they would go. But I mean, they don't care about. They're much like the people in America that just bury their head in the sand as long as they've got food on the table, nothing's happening. They put their fingers in their ears and they go la 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 la. You know what I mean? It's that type of mentality. And then if you try and tell them that, like when Hillary came out for that book tour, they had something on about Chelsea Clinton and how her life has been pretty much one big soap opera. And I said, well, that's what you get when your parents are war criminals. On the post. Oh, fucking hell. Jesus.
People start going after you.
Oh, yeah. Fucking oath. What makes her a war criminal? Blah, blah, blah. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
Well, my husband could be one of those people, because when I mention the deep state, he's like, what is the deep state? I've been hearing that term. I'm like, go check it out. Google it. You'll find it. I'm not going to sit here and explain it to you. It took me all this time to learn about it. It's time for you to learn.
Yeah.
And stop calling me a Trump supporter.
A lot of people don't know about the Five Eyes. The fact that we share information with the USA. It's just, and the fact that we share our own information with the USA. And it's not as if it's not a two-way street either. It's America gives us fucking nothing. The only thing America gives us is if there's a terrorist attack that they've found. That's it.
Hey, we protect you with our sub. So we're complaining. Probably got subs just ringing Australia. That's my guess.
Oh, you do. Oh, you've got fucking everything around Northern Australia because it's the gateway to China.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the American military base is in the Northern Territory. And it's my understanding it's fucking a massive military base. It's not one of those pop-up ones. You know what I mean?
I think that's my great uncle served in Australia, and I think he was one of the people at that base. I can't remember the name of it, but it was established in World War II.
Yeah,
I think.
But what I'm thinking is instead of America going after China, what America's trying to do is trying to get Australia to enact on China because China's our number one trading partner. But because we're in the area, you know what I mean? So it's sort of like you go and send your warships, Australia, into the Chinese South Sea and then see what China does. and then you can report back to us.
China's everyone's favorite trading partner, and we all know why. They use slave labor.
It's not only slave labor. They don't have
regulations.
Regulations, like environmental regulations. You get that. I was watching this documentary not long ago, and they were talking about the denim trade and how the local river next to where they make all the denim is just polluted. It's just like blue, denim blue, and they just tip all the shit into it.
Then they've been making like at least public relations moves that they're going to clean up their act. They're like, oh, like we're doing this and that, and they're trying to make some moves. But I mean, what are you talking about here? They have like this old industrial infrastructure. It's going to take decades to rebuild it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I don't really see any real indication of them making changes.
If they really wanted to, they could just shut down whole cities, like literally make people move out into the ghost cities that they've built.
Yeah, and some of those ghost cities look pretty nice, don't they?
Mm-hmm.
I would like to live in one of those cities if it wasn't in fascist China.
Yeah. So if they were really keen on doing anything, it would be just a matter of saying, okay, everybody out of this area, we're going to knock it down and clean it up and start again. But you've got to move over here.
Well, we have to do that here. We should be doing that with New York City to start with.
Yeah.
Not so sure we shouldn't be doing it with Detroit if we need Detroit anymore.
No, you probably don't need Detroit anymore.
We don't really need New York anymore.
No.
We really should start divesting or diversifying these big cities.
Well, why isn't Trump, the big real estate mogul, starting his own city somewhere else? He's such a brainy person.
And we don't need, I'm not saying the Hyperloop isn't a nice thing or anything. We don't need to wait for Hyperloop. Europe has some nice trains.
Mm-hmm.
300-kilometer-an-hour trains.
Yeah.
That's what? Sorry, I can't do the math real quick in my head. About 200 miles an hour, right?
Yeah.
So 200 miles an hour isn't that long a trip to go from Chicago to New York City. Not that long a trip to go from Chicago to Los Angeles. And it's not really that long a trip to go from New York to Los Angeles.
I would love to have one of those Japanese bullet trains go from Melbourne to Sydney to Brisbane to the northern parts of Brisbane. That would be awesome. Like those magnetized ones that they've bought in.
Magnets.
Yeah. Those magnetized ones that just hover. They don't actually have any friction. That would be awesome. But, Australia's too stupid. We need to invest in more roads and
but almost all of our old towns, all of our towns need to be torn down and moved.
Well, it's about 800 kilometers to Sydney, which is about 500 miles. Yeah, maybe
1,000 meters is like what, 3,300 or something.
So a mile is 1.6 kilometers.
Yeah.
So anyway, it doesn't matter. They were talking about getting a train that would take 2.5 hours to go from Melbourne to Sydney.
And that would be quite a scenic route too, wouldn't it?
Yeah, up through the mountains and stuff. But they were talking about just going through the mountains, not up and around them. Australia has this idea that we need to go through everything in order to get to places. So, sort of like our train system in the city is underground, and they're building a new train line underground that connects. I don't know how it's going to connect, but anyway. And then they built tunnels that went underneath the city, from one side of the city to the other, to drive. So yeah, we're not afraid of a good old tunnel here and there.
It's a good idea, man. More, cities across the world should take advantage of the fact that they can dig. Things don't have to go across or up.
I believe Boston did that.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why Ebon left.
Maybe. They were going to do, the government had planned a $6-point-something billion tunnel from one side of another tunnel from one side of the city to meet the east with the northwest at one stage, and it was going to be the largest tunnel in the state. But then a new government came in and said, "Nah, no more roads. We're gonna improve the public transport system." So, and that's what they've been doing, removing all the railway crossings. They removed like 50 railway crossings around the city to ease congestion, which has worked really well. So stations have to be put either above the road or below the road. So, like, this government I'd love to know how much my state government has spent. That they've built in the past 4 years 76 schools.
Wow. I mean, at least they're spending it on infrastructure, That's something, at least, even if there's pork and whatever else involved.
Yeah.
At least it's not going into some kind of black budget.
But it's not only normal schools either. It's specialty schools too, for kids with disabilities and stuff like that, and learning disabilities, and so it's not just all normal primary and secondary schools. There are some specialty schools, so, which is good. But the opposition are like, "Oh, he's spending too much money, and he's not spending it on the right things." And what else do you want him to spend it on? What, tax breaks to his corporate overlords like you got?
You guys have to save up some money to take care of the nuke waste dump that we're going to be putting there soon.
Yeah,
so don't forget to save up for that. It's your responsibility now.
They haven't figured out a spot yet.
Has it been? Are they gonna? Because it was still going back and forth the last time I looked into it. Is it going for sure now, or what?
They're still looking for a spot. It'll go in without fail, but it's going in deep underground. So. Because the theory is if you just leave it sit out in the middle of nowhere in warehouses, there's a likelihood of a terrorist attack. It's like, well, why in the fuck would a terrorist want to attack something out in the middle of nowhere?
Good luck. It'll
Seriously,
dilute.
Why would you want to attack something that's 2,000 kilometers away from anything?
Stealing it.
Yeah, that's the concern.
It'll be it'll have security and stuff.
Also, there is a problem.
Because it's not like the problem is finding a spot that's far away from people, right? But it's close enough for people to travel to work.
Oh, good night, Charlie.
Yeah, Shirley.
Good night, Cheryl.
Night, Shirley.
It is an issue with has a stable way to store that been found yet.
No, they're still talking about it coming in barrels.
Are they talking about vitrified or
Not sure.
perlighted?
I'm not sure. I don't get that technical into it. I just, I'm a big believer that if you're if you dig it out of the ground, then sell it, then you should take it back.
Yeah, and Germany has that policy.
Yeah.
We don't play that game.
Yeah.
We play you bought it, you're the sucker. Perlite versus vitrification. Vitrification, they grind it up and add it to glass. And then the glass turns to sand eventually and then releases it.
What?
Oh, that's good.
What kind of idiotic...
Well, again, so far that's been the stablest method they've found. We had this thing called the WIPP in Texas or New Mexico. I can't remember exactly where it was. Somewhere there, where they tried storing it in kitty litter, and the kitty litter was going to cost a 40-pound bag, maybe $8. Somebody came up with the idea, well, this brand of kitty litter is $1.25.
Oh, geez.
Let's switch to this one. Now, the brand that they had was a clay substance that could be heated and dried. And if it got extremely warm, it would turn to glass and vitrify the nuclear waste. However, it was substituted with an organic material that had a flash point in the 400 degrees area. And so they filled these barrels with that material and plutonium. Large amounts of plutonium stored together in the same area tend to produce heat more than 400 degrees. And they had this fire. I thought, of course, I wasn't there with instrumentation at all, but I thought they should have evacuated Texas.
So that was in Texas. There was another fire that happened.
It was either New Mexico or Texas, but the plume was over Texas.
There was another fire that happened up near Crystal, Nevada, up by, I can't remember the name of the town, but it's right on the edge of Death Valley. And I think it was a low-level fire, but I was wondering if that was the same one. So it definitely wasn't in Nevada.
I don't know. I can't remember just the area it was at, but I just remember the plume included Dallas and Houston.
And that really is the best way they found. I mean, it just granulates it, and it seems to me that like once that stuff granulates, it's just harder to conduct waste control.
Well, what they want to be able to do is go before a House or Senate committee and say, we found a way to store it. No questions past that. Every senator wants to be heard acting like they're being heard ass on TV, solving the problems. And then they don't want anybody to tell them that they didn't. Oh, we got Kelly.
Hey, Kelly.
Hey, Kelly.
Yo, what's up?
Sorry, go on, Snore.
So we end up getting these partial. And then, of course, once it's solved, then more money has to be allocated to it. And it would go on. You know, the nuclear industry does not want to have any kind of bad news out there. And when you control all of the news media, you're not going to have bad news reported on you. So we don't learn these things, just like we don't learn about how bad compact fluorescent light bulbs are.
What about gel-based solutions? I mean, we have a lot of gels that are designed to withstand a lot of heat. Like,
Gels, you mean things that ooze?
well, that's the thing. Like, maybe, once they hardened, they maybe started off as a gel, they hardened, they're heat resistant, and, we could trap these things in cubes or something. I mean, it just seems to me that granulating glass, like,
I don't want to put off Kelly
Horrible
being
idea.
able to talk, but
No, it's okay.
they have this problem. Whenever you put a high alpha emitter into a hard substance, it has this thing that it does called spalling, where it creates pressure, and then glass doesn't shatter straight. It always shatters conchoidally, where there are no planes in the shatter of glass, and so it tends to make itself go to sand. It wants to go to individual grain until the force is released. The reason that they had to replace the sarcophagus at Chernobyl was there was so much alpha radiation in there. And alpha radiation is usually viewed by people as harmless. But it's only supposed to be bad inside your body. But what it does is when there's a lot of it, an emission from of alpha tends to only go like 4 centimeters. But if some of its friends emitted at the same time, you have electrostatic. It's like a baseball bat. Bing! And when it hits something, it turns into helium. So the surface of the concrete, little particles of plutonium were floating off, landing on the concrete or getting close enough to it to emit into them, and that they would eventually spalled off so much concrete that they were afraid that the collapse of the concrete sarcophagus due to the spalling was putting the Soviet Union at risk. And China doesn't like to be put at risk either. And so they've put in a second sarcophagus over the first one, so the first one can collapse.
It's terrible. Kelly, cheer us up. Like we've been talking about.
This is.
Uh-oh.
Between my cows and the barking dogs, we got everything going.
How was your trip to the forum, Kelly? Tell us the story.
I loved it. Wait, who was that? Ebon, do you have dogs? Who's barking?
I think that was Ryan.
Oh, okay. No, I didn't want to interrupt you, Snork. I love listening to you talk.
That's all. You missed my rant.
Oh, okay. No, I love listening. You give us a science lesson. It's very soothing.
Yes. My cows in the back should help you be more soothing too.
Oh, you have cows?
Can't you hear them?
No.
Oh. It's the printer. That's
okay. Gotcha. No, I'm in my daughter's room, so
So we hear you had some drinks at the left forum. Jamal's been narking you out.
That was so funny. I got a message from Daniel DeCedar, who, in North Carolina worked on the Draft Bernie stuff with me like a year ago or so. And he sent me a message and said, Jamarl's talking about you guys going on the air. And I was like, what? Make me sound like such a party animal. No, I like, I like my Moscow mules, but I don't really do that very often. Because
Moscow mules, huh?
Exactly, because that's my part of the whole package of me being a Putin puppet. But anyway, yeah, I don't know. I just discovered that those don't bother me. Like I can't drink beer because I have celiac. I really don't drink much because of the headaches anyway. But some good like Tito's vodka that's like, I guess, more pure doesn't. I'm very sensitive. So anyway. Yes, we did sit and talk in the hotel bar for a bit, and that was really fun. But I honestly loved this forum. Now, when I say that, keep in mind, like when I go to these things, I usually pick like maybe 3 things, 3 panels, 3, whatever people that I really want to hear. And I kind of don't really tune in to a lot of the rest of it. Part of it is also, as you guys know, I can only like be upright for like 8 hours in a day. So I have to pick and choose what I'm going to do. But it was called the Left Forum. So obviously a lot of it was very lefty. You had all the tables out in the middle. It was at John Jay College of Criminal Justice. And so you had all the tables out in the middle of all the, socialist, communist, everything you can imagine, people selling books and talking to you. But the panels that I was interested in, and the whole reason I ended up going, was that we had done this election integrity thing online, and it was really, really cool. I was so happy about that one because Tim Canova joined, and several election integrity, activists, John Brakey and Ray Lutz, and people really that have been working on this stuff for a long time, were on this online thing. And then I just happened to hear that John was going to this forum, and I was like, what is this? I hadn't even heard of it. I don't know how that one slipped by me, but I didn't see it on Twitter or anywhere. I guess it wasn't like Unrig or People Summit, which was very, to me felt like a DNC event, right? And it was highly just advertised and very glossy, right? So this wasn't like that, and I guess that's why I didn't hear about it. So anyway, very last minute, like 1 week before, John and Lulu, who also has worked on Tim Canova's case with the race with Debbie Wasserman Schultz, they were going to be there doing an election integrity panel. So I thought I have to go. So got tickets and went to that, and it was fantastic. I got to meet Yane. I can't pronounce her last name. Indigo. I know she was part of the Bernie or Bust thing. And let's see, then the next day was a Movement for People's Party forum with the usual cast there, and plus Tim and John were in that. And then the other really amazing thing was the Russiagate and WikiLeaks panel. Now, the one person who didn't show up, hang on, my brightness is down here. The one person who didn't show for the Russiagate panel, and then there was one I was thinking about going to on Sunday. I really wanted to, but he didn't come, was Mark Crispin Miller. He's the NYU professor that has been on the live stream with Suzie and the Unity for Assange thing, which I guess that all started.
I like that guy.
Yeah, I know. So he was on the list for the Russiagate WikiLeaks thing, and then he was supposed to be there for the it was a consortium news, although what's his name? Perry obviously passed away sadly. But anyway, it was a consortium news like the death of journalism or something. But he was on that, and I was mostly interested in hearing him. But he didn't show for the one the day before, the Russiagate WikiLeaks thing. So I don't know what happened. I guess he was busy on the live stream. Maybe that's why he didn't come. But I don't know. It was just to me. I loved this. It was really cool because it was small. And like, I got to talk to Max Blumenthal, who's one of my favorite journalists ever. And I got to tell him that. And, if you saw any of my pictures, but I got a picture with, Randy Credico and, Ray McGovern, who's so sweet. He's just the nicest guy. But it was funny. I asked him, I said, do you mind if I take a picture? He said, sure. And as soon as I snapped the picture, he said, now the FBI is following you. Like, but I hadn't even posted it anywhere. I just took the picture. So, but
now they're here. Thanks a lot, Kelly.
Yeah. Right. But,
say hi to the FBI, everyone.
Yeah. So those were my objectives for going, because that's
Night, Hillary.
Sorry.
Because I mean, this is the shit I care about the most. It's the anti-corruption. It's the, I'd love to see an independent, really independent party. Whether that's, I don't know that that's going to be Movement for a People's Party, but so that and election integrity and all the Russiagate crap, of course, and just wanting to see that fall down and the truth come out. Those are my things I care about. Now, it's weird for me because I find myself really like, God, am I the only one at the left forum going, this is kind of a bubble? Like you guys, when you see the tables of all the things I was describing, the very lefty things, it's not that I don't want those things or support some of them, but I just think the guy sitting there with the T-shirt that says "Not my president." Really? I mean, can we get past that? I mean, did you have one of those when? It just, to me, I feel like it's still every one of these that I've gone to. Nobody's trying to reach out to the real independents, the people. I say it almost every damn day now that there were 12% of Sanders supporters that voted for Trump. And there were more that voted for Trump that they did it because it was a big FU to the establishment. And I don't understand why there's not more effort to try to reach those people and talking about these very little, everybody's got their, this is my issue, whether it's MMT, but we're not going to get into that. But it's always like, this is my thing. And if you're not, set on my issue, then, I don't know. So that's the biggest problem I see with these. I mean, they're great, but there's not a lot of, there needs to be outreach. Like I was joking about, let's go to a libertarian forum, where I could think half of what they say is crazy and the other half makes sense. But, there's just not effort across groups, I guess. That makes sense.
Were there people who are like Hillary supporters, DNC supporters that I guess they ascribe to being left there? Yeah.
I did not see, I mean, again, I'm not there all day the whole time for every forum, but it did not have that flavor at all to me. It seemed kind of hippie. I mean, honestly, it was really, there was some out there. It was much less, just much less that DNC feel like Unrig or People's Summit. Now I did hear, and I wish I had remembered to ask when I talked to Max Blumenthal, but he said, and I heard someone else talking about that there were groups there that were, he said, like pretending to be one of us. I don't know if they were kind of alluding to groups that were infiltrating something. I don't know. But no, I didn't. What did you hear? I mean, maybe I can.
Someone said something. I can't find it. I'm not sure if it was in a DM Twitter group or someone on Discord or something on Internet Party. I don't know, but they just said it was okay. It was just they just weren't sure about it. My question always in all these is how was it funded?
Right. I guess I should pay more attention to that. But what I see, especially at a plate like this kind of thing, there weren't lots of snacks for everybody. And it was very bare bones. I mean, it was inside a college, city, whatever, the John Jay College of Criminal Justice. It was pretty much like they just allowed us people to use the rooms. I mean, it just didn't, I can't even imagine anything costs very much. Yeah. And so I don't know any specifics on that, but it definitely did not have that feel at all to me.
That makes more sense because I think a lot of universities, they open up for free or it's really cheap or something.
Yeah.
And it's not like some huge building or 5-star hotel.
Mm-hmm. No, not at all. I mean, it was under construction in the front and it was it was really bare bones, I thought.
Were there a lot of people there? Does it seem
Yeah, I
crowded?
mean, there's a good bit, but again, it's less. It's kind of like people's convergence in DC. You know, I think it's better when it's a smaller group, and it doesn't. You know, I sat at Unrig at these big events at night, and it's all just a light show, and I was like, oh god, that just feels very, I don't know, just
like
packaged.
Yeah. Was there any media coverage there? Like mainstream?
I didn't see anybody except like in each panel room there would be one or two, and I think they were actually with Left Forum or whoever organized it to stream, because they announced that they were going to be streaming it online. I did not see much other than that. Like one or maybe two people in each room streaming. And as a matter of fact, I kind of had thought about doing that myself, but in some of these you get in there, and I guess it's partly me. I don't want to be the obnoxious person with the camera in everybody's face, so I don't do it. And like in the election integrity one, Lulu Freistat was showing a clip of a documentary she's working on. So she actually asked them to turn it off because she didn't want it broadcast. So, but as far as like definitely no big media, and not many people live streaming.
Is there a sense of a strategy of what plans are to? I mean, are they going for independence, third party, like Green Party, or are they trying to take back the Democratic National Party? Do they have
no? And this is where I'll choose some of my words carefully here, but just not my place to say some things. But I think that this is where there's a problem, is that if you're going to have an independent party, I don't see how you're going to do that in this little sliver on the left, because the Democrats hate you. And they blame you for splitting the vote, right?
Yeah.
And you're not appealing to the middle, whatever the hell the middle is, but you're not appealing to, I'm just going to say populists, okay? You're not appealing to populists. And you're definitely not appealing to the right. So to me, it's kind of I don't know. It's not very effective. I think they have to reach out, and until someone decides to. I mean, Tim Canova running as an independent, if he actually reaches out in a more, with more like populist rhetoric. Of course, he's in a very like heavily Democratic district, but like everywhere, you have so many people that don't vote. And I think those are the people that they need to reach. Those are the people that could come out and change things. The people that think, why the hell should I vote? Because it doesn't matter. If you have candidates that actually speak to them, and coupled with, election integrity activists backing that candidate, because, what's the big thing with Bernie? We all know what happened, and he never spoke up about it.
Yeah.
Silent on the DNC fraud lawsuit. So if it's hard. We're battling, people have just apathetic from what happened before. They don't care, and they think, well, it's rigged anyway. So what the hell difference does it make? So
yeah, and we're gonna run into a conundrum in 2020 and maybe even 2024, because if we get someone, I mean, you still have to run in the Democratic Party just to show how much they're gonna steal the primary to pick who they want again. But it has to be someone popular, and it has to be someone who will fight them, right?
Mm-hmm.
They can't be a Bernie Sanders and say, okay, I support you guys now, even though you cheated me out of the nomination. So I mean, thunder striking twice, and this time actually having it done right, where you're fighting against the corruption, that I just feel like that's just a smaller chance of happening. And then other than that is just having some other third party, like Green Party or something. Or I mean, even right now, if a third party just popped up for the left, I think it's too late. I mean, it's only almost like a year and a half before like the but yeah, about 2 years, 2.5 years to get enough going. I mean, and that would just be to run the presidency. But there still would need to be a lot more time to run candidates for senators and districts for House of Representatives, and then you're also competing against the Green Party. I mean, two small parties competing against each other against two giants like the DNC and RNC. It's like there's just no way we're gonna do it that way.
I like the Werner sign, Gordon.
Have you ever been to Bliss?
Probably when I was little. I don't remember. I just recognize the Werners. So, well, to answer that, I think, this idea that I kind of ignore what Bernie's doing now, honestly. But this idea that they could just, let's just turn around and run him again. I think a lot of people said, fuck that, and Dem exited. I mean, so this idea that they could just do that again and that'll work, I don't think so. Yeah. I think the power would be in someone who, has a platform like Bernie's, but actually has the balls to say, if they cheat, I'm not playing along, or actually maybe they just run as an independent in the first place, and everybody poo-poos that and says, oh, you can't possibly win. But I disagree. I think things are different now. I think we have, I can't remember. Brian found it. It was some poll recently, but it was like the numbers of people considering themselves independent now was like 68%. It was something really high. Like, I think that people, I think it could work. I mean, you have a true independent.
Yeah. Yeah. It's also, it gets really messy. There's some who are libertarian or Republican that might ascribe to themselves as being independent now out of all that's been going on. But they're also very conspiratorial, I guess. I've been in the conspiracy theory arena for quite a while now. And progressivism, socialism is just the biggest evil. That's the plan of these elites for centuries to turn countries or turn the entire globe into one big socialistic platform. But the thing is, in the United States, it's not popular. I mean, it's popular on the left, where of course we're a lot of left.
No, that's why language is so important. I mean, it just drives me crazy when I hear some of the rhetoric.
Because the libertarians would never go for a progressive. They hate that term. They hate them even worse than Republicans, and they hate the Republicans because that's their ally. They hate them worse than Democrats. And socialism.
I'm still of the opinion that they would rather lose to a Trump than have a quote socialist in office.
Yes, that is true. And you're talking about probably half, at least, the independents are non-affiliated in that category. So that just makes the left a lot smaller.
Right. And that's what they're not seeing. So, I mean, I think they're not seeing it. But so I was just going to pull up. So, there's this other, I'll have an update soon about CFAR and CWAC candidates with a contract is another one. We have a lot of the same candidates, but I would love to talk to some of these people. Hang on, let me pull up this guy. There's one in New Mexico.
Do you think Mark Crispin Miller would come on to do a talk like this with a bunch of ordinary people?
I don't know. I mean, he was on the live stream.
Yeah, I liked what he said. I like how he likes this type of platform, talking to each other.
That would be great. I would give him a guilt trip for not showing up at the forum. No, my question is, how is he still employed at NYU?
I don't know. Maybe he makes them a lot of money, so they're like, you can say whatever you want, just keep bringing in the cash.
Yeah,
that's the only
I'm
reason.
Well, you guys know about my daughter at BU for a year, and they definitely threw everything Howard Zinn said out the window, and her experience there was not good. But okay, so there's a candidate, and his name is Claiborne Griffin. Oh wait, actually, I don't know when. Well, it doesn't matter. New Mexico's primary. I don't know when that is. I have to look. But a lot of these people will turn around and run again in 2020, which I think is good. I mean, it's a long battle, so why not? So let me sidetrack a bit. For example, we had a candidate, Lisa McCormick, in New Jersey, and I have to pull up the numbers, but she had like $5,000. That's it.
Yeah.
And like no coverage other than like stuff we were doing, like the online town halls and really nothing. And she beat Bob Menendez in several counties. Of course she didn't win. It was like she got like 38%. And that might sound really terrible, but when you look at like how little money she had and how she had like no coverage at all in the media, and she was going to get to debate him, and then he backed out at the last minute, some event.
I mean,
so
I think the only way, because we've been battling or having this idea of, hey, we just need to get the right people in office, and that'll change things. But that's been the plan for decades, if not a century.
Yeah.
And then for money, we don't. If you're raising money, and that seems to be the primary motivation for getting elected, but the thing is, you're giving your money to the mainstream media, who's probably going to give you a lot of charge you a lot more than the candidates that they want in office, and then so it's hard, your coverage is going to be little anyway, and there's going to be a lot of free coverage pretty much for.
Yeah, I mean, and I just hate that. Every time I hear this about raising money for media, I'm like, why? Okay, it literally costs what, gas money to get people to the polls? So what we're doing now, any of this,
and it's free. Like, I'm not getting any money. I'm pretty much putting my own money into it, and so are you with
we're
your
paying
stuff.
money to do it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you could just bypass that, I mean, we talked about this another time. Think about all that money that is wasted on campaigns every year. What could be done with that? If you could fix Flint, you could fix everything, right?
Well, up until we switched over to digital, like all that was more possible than it is now because the public owns the airwaves, right? So if we could have done things properly in the past, we just could have said, you're not charging our representatives X million dollars a minute to run an ad. Like the citizens have a right to be informed, and since we let you use our airwaves, this is one of the prices you pay for it.
And I think what they should do instead, even if they do raise money, use that money to run air ads or and stuff on independent media areas. I mean, independent media are making a lot of money anyway.
So many people aren't even paying attention to that anymore. So that regular TV, I mean, not enough have turned it off, but a lot of younger people aren't watching it, right?
Yeah.
But anyway, I wanted to say something about this candidate. So she's just an example. There are a couple on this. This candidates with a contract, but his name is Claiborne Griffin, and he is running as a Republican. But he wants, let's see, his platform is focused on modernizing the economy in southern New Mexico, renewed investment in public education, and ensuring free and fair elections. Make Election Day a federal holiday, automatic voter registration, abandon the Electoral College. So, I mean, my point with this is just that, like, there are people that that people can have some common ground with on the quote unquote other side. But I don't hear any of that on the left. What I hear is total freak out if someone decides to run as a Republican like Sam Ronan did. And it's like, really? I mean, look at I didn't analyze the numbers from last night yet, but when Ohio had its primary, whatever day that was, May something, I just looked at the raw numbers of turnout, and there were like 200,000 more people in the state of Ohio that came out to vote Republican than Democrat.
Yeah.
It was like 600,000 and 800,000.
I mean, I joke about it as Sam Ronan strategically being the Justice Democrats of the right in the Republican arena, just to primary the Republican out. That way, no matter what, you have a chance at an independent or whoever is going to be the Democratic nominee, because we know the Democratic nominee is pretty much going to be the same as the Republican. So at least there's more of a chance where either Sam Ronan could win or an independent or the Green Party or whatever, as opposed to the Democratic nominee. I mean,
well, like in Sam's case, though, it really is just in name only.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that's what that was. But what I'm saying is there are actually people that are running as Republicans, and they may be conservative in some areas. So fucking what? Let's get together on other things that we can solve something. I mean, we're not ever going to get anywhere if we don't do that. And it just drives me crazy because I don't hear any of that, like, at all. Like, I don't think I'm going to be going to any Republican conventions anytime soon, but or forums. But I mean, I wish there was more. I had hoped that unrig thing was truly, because they kept advertising it as nonpartisan. And I think the guy that was it Silver, I think his name is, Represent Us. I mean, there's definitely efforts on some people's part, but that wasn't what it was at all. Like, that just felt like okay, great, we'll just do all your stuff and then we'll just suck it all back up into the Democratic Party. Yeah. Like, that's the plan from the get-go, you know?
I feel like the left needs to make some concessions. It's because freedom, you know, the Constitution, etc., a lot of independents, a lot of libertarians, even some Republicans just are strictly for freedom. Like, you shouldn't touch the Second Amendment, just like usually the left says don't touch the First Amendment. Just get rid of everything where the freedoms have been taken away, and that should be the stance. And I think that would bring a lot more people to the left. And when you're talking about something like socialism, talk about don't even name it socialism.
Yeah, don't use that word.
Just certain programs are utilized where we would call it socialist, like a socialistic program, like Social Security or Medicare. Oh, not quite, but when you're talking about healthcare, just, I mean, nothing has worked right now, and don't even call it. Give people an option, and just make it so that if you can't afford it, I mean, if you can't afford free, then you're not going to be charged for not being able to pay for free healthcare. And then when they ask for where the money is coming from, well, we're going to pull out of the wars, because a lot of people on the right, libertarians, whatever, and independents, they don't like the war stuff going on. Right. I mean, the fervent Republicans, the fervent Democrats, they support the war. They go, it's a necessary evil or something. And they'd be like, so you really want all these billions of dollars going into that, not to education? Because the Democrats actually care about public education, except if they had to choose between public education, public health care, or funding wars, they would probably choose education over the other two. And the same thing with the right. When the right, if you have the Republicans, I would say, not the right, say, okay, what would you rather spend your money on? They wouldn't choose public education at all. They wouldn't want public health care at all. But they also wouldn't want wars, funding wars. They don't like American imperialism. So what do you offer? What can the left offer the right as a concession? because they can easily offer the centrists something that they would rather have than war. So it's just, you kind of have to think that way, in my opinion, because you can't just win as the left. You have to win as left, centrist, and right, and become the something that everyone wants, and just that opens their eyes to, look, the Democrats have been saying this for years, and what have they given us? The Republicans have given this for years. What are they giving us? They've just taken away all your freedoms. The Democrats have taken away all your freedoms. All we want is our freedoms back, and the way we're gonna pay for these is, look, we're gonna pull out of wars. That's just our biggest thing. We can secure up our borders. I think the Republicans like securing up the borders, so that might be the concessions. Pull out of wars, we become more defensive, and we don't go outside those borders.
Well, one problem people seem to be having in this current environment is they can't differentiate between average citizens and the actual representatives of these policies. Okay, you can have reasonable discussions with fellow citizens, even if you disagree with their opinions. Okay, these people aren't setting policies. They are not the ones who present the quote danger. It's the people who are enacting these policies that are the issue, right? So, like today, I was watching Ron Placone, and this dude named Anomaly comes on. Now, you guys might have seen him around.
Yeah, I know who he is.
We've had him on.
All right, yep. So maybe you have an idea of his philosophy. He is kind of in the kind of libertarian, kind of progressive camp that has decided to support Trump in order to spite the DNC. He's one of those people. Okay, so
that's kind of the Zach Holler vein of, I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
like there's lots of progressives out there that said, I'm going to vote for Trump. Like, I think Trump is the fastest path to change because he will, for many reasons, he'll show the real face of the system. Like, he'll end up consolidating the progressive movement because of his policies. They have all kinds of reasons for doing that. Like, I disagree with most of those reasons. Okay, but it's understandable. But anyways, Stu gets up there, like, he's basically an average citizen, and Ron's talking to him. And the chat is going nuts on him. They're ripping him apart. They're like, this guy's a fucking idiot, blah, blah, blah. Like, da-da-da. I mean, you just can't have a conversation with huge elements of the left.
No, you can't.
Okay, and like, they don't seem to recognize a difference between a citizen voicing their opinion and someone like a Rand Paul or a Trump up there, like, creating policy. They treat them with the same amount of vitriol, and they listen to them as much, which is zero. So this is, and the media's, exacerbating these problems.
Well, right. I think, we've all been watching this for a while. We have a situation now where we've got, MSNBC and CNN, and pretty much all of them have adopted the Fox News formula, and they've whipped everybody into this, like, just insane, like, hysteria. It's like all rational thought is out the window. It's like how trying to talk to people that were, Fox News viewers a decade ago, right?
Yeah,
and it's so impossible to talk to.
It's they promote fear-based choice, like, hey, this is what the other side wants, and people are afraid of that, and so they're going to be opposed to it no matter what. The other side is saying, hey, this is what the other side wants, and they're like, no, they're afraid of that. And instead, both sides politically, the Democrats and Republicans, are still pushing stuff that no one wants, but everyone else is just afraid that it's just going to get worse.
Well, it's fear and shame based. They continue to engage in these shame based tactics. And guess what, man? It didn't work for you the last time.
Right.
It hasn't worked the last 2 years that you've been doing it.
And they also are very quick to personal attacks Like you can be having like you think. I've run into a couple on Twitter. They're always whatever the Joy Reid supporting those people, and you're having a debate, and very quickly, or you think you're having a discussion, very quickly it becomes an attack.
You're some kind of like Trump troll, or you're a paid
Russian bot or whatnot.
You know what? The thing is, one way to do that, especially in a weight form like this, is someone comes in and just hates everything that we're talking about. We're trying to have a civil discussion, and then starts getting angry at one of us, especially say me, because I'm usually the one that says something that no one likes, someone doesn't like, and then you guys can say, "Hey, why are you picking on the Asian guy? Are you racist?" And so that would be Kelly saying, "No, I'm not racist." Blah blah blah. And it's like, "Hey, stop picking on her. What are you, a misogynist or sexist?" And she's like, "No, I'm a woman. How could I be sexist?" And it's like, see, this is how it feels when you're being attacked for something that you're not. So please, let's be civil. Let's have a discussion and not start making things personal, because then we can't have a discussion about the issues.
Yeah,
so that's
it just doesn't matter. Like
it may not, but that's the only way you can kind of get into them, is to make them realize how they're acting. Some people don't. You have to point it out to them. They may not.
You can point it out to them, dude. I've done it many times where they've engaged in soft racism of one sort or another. Soft racism being like the racism of low expectations or something like that, or they've been what I would consider their opinion is based entirely on a person's race. Okay, I pointed out their soft racism to them, and they just double down on it.
Well, yeah,
they just fucking double down on it, and then you just end up going in an endless circle with them.
Yeah.
It's a dogmatic philosophy, and it's got its own tenets, and they don't stray from them.
I only hate one race, the American race.
You hate your masters. You bite the hand that feeds you, traitorous.
Exactly.
Bend over, Ryan. We own you.
Ryan, will you be at? Isn't there a vigil like for Assange? That where in Australia are you?
I'm in Melbourne.
Okay, so is this? I don't even know where that was.
Cool of
That's
Australia.
Right down the bottom. Far right, like
on the bottom. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's right. Don't forget it.
We are America's cuck.
USA.
So hang on, I'll show you where I am.
Okay.
Just let me bring up Google Maps.
So you're not close enough to attend this whatever.
Depends where it is.
Vigil. I don't remember.
One time I was drunk up in Canada with a few friends, and we started to engage in that fake jingoism where like I just did, where I was mocking it. Like, except like we were talking about Canada, we didn't think anyone overheard us, but a few people did, and they thought we were serious.
Oh no!
And they got kind of pissed off. We had to explain to them, "Hey man, I'm just kidding. I probably don't like America anymore."
So this is a map of Afghanistan. And I live down the very bottom in Iraq.
Okay.
So that's where I live.
Hey man,
I
think Julian Assange is from my city too.
Have you ever been to Tasmania?
Nope.
Before we get going into Australia, kind of like to talk about the talking and the compromising, not compromising. I mean, you have to compromise, or we're still stuck in this position, and that's the reason why Democratic Party and the Republican Party has stayed in existence, is because they compromise, maybe with each other.
You know what I think a good compromise is economic protectionism.
Yeah.
There are lots of elements of the left that agree with economic protectionism, lots of elements of the right that do, and it could be an area where there could be agreement.
Yeah. Now some disagreements. Oh, go ahead.
Julian Assange was born in Townsville, which is like right up the very top of Australia.
Oh, okay.
He hails from Victoria.
Oh, okay. So
Melbourne, where I'm at.
Okay. So yeah, I don't know where the I don't know if it's a march or something vigil. I thought it was Melbourne, but maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Let me see. I can check really quickly.
Another one, believe it or not, like I think that the left and right could compromise on is abortion. Because there are a lot of people on the left who have an ethical issue with abortion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but here's the thing: is it's getting into that territory of freedom. I mean, when you're forcing people in one direction or another and not giving them their personal choice, that's a slippery slope. I mean, you have one saying that it should never have abortion, or even say the opposite, saying someone should always have abortion. I mean, it's like just one
position.
Yeah, I mean, it should be up. Everything is a personal choice. Just liberals. I mean, not liberals. Libertarians are all about your personal freedom. So if you don't have that personal freedom, then you can't be a libertarian. So they can't be for no abortions, no matter what, for the law. Snark, it looks like you want to say something on that.
Most Republicans support post-birth abortions. We just need to have them move the start date.
It starts like, once the welfare check is cut off.
Who just joined? Oh,
Truth.
Around 5 or 6 years old.
So you guys were talking about abortion, right?
Mm-hmm.
Somehow we got on that, yes.
Well, we were talking about areas that the left and right could maybe find some kind of compromise and lessen the divisions between them as a result.
For me, I generally don't believe that something like abortion can be...
Yeah, I don't know what that was.
Kind of broke off there, Truth.
I don't believe that something like abortion can be summarized as a left-right thing. I don't think our species has evolved enough cerebrally, with our to actually have that conversation. I don't think we've reached that intellect or that because
well, we have to.
Because I'll tell you this, because when it comes to the pro-lifers, or the quote-unquote pro-lifers, they're against contraceptive as well. They believe that you losing some sperm is murder. So on that.
Well, that's a fringe opinion.
There's a lot of people who do this that believe in that. So no.
Or if those people have like a nocturnal emission. Oh, what?
There's like the hardcore Catholics believe in that, and there might be some other.
Here's the thing: Catholics still perform, what do you call it? Contraception.
The sin of owning.
It's just the natural contraception based on a female's monthly cycle. There's a certain period. Just the Mormons do the same practice, but it's still contraception. It's just not.
You know what I love? I love you shouldn't have an abortion or I'm going to kill you. That's the irony that I love.
But the irony for me on that is, it's like personal choice. Does a woman have a personal choice whether she has an abortion or not? But then their argument is, well, does the fetus have a personal choice whether they can be aborted or not?
No, Eben. That's the part where, if I can just, because I'm going to get right back to you on that part.
Mm-hmm.
But I just wanted to finish the contraceptives part, because the leaders of the movement, regardless if it's fringe or not, the leaders of the movement believe that. And it's, although, people essentially still jerk off anyways, it's still something that they focus on, and they focus deep, heavy on.
I don't.
They focus on people touching themselves for self-pleasure. Then people should mind their own fucking business about that. It's not their fucking body.
Yeah. So, but to get on Eben's current point, that that the argument of the woman's choice and fetus's choice. I don't think the human species is evolved enough for that debate. I really don't, because
well, regardless of whether like people are capable or mature enough as a society to have that debate, it's a reality that must be dealt with. So we have to debate it.
Well,
I know.
I actually think they're. Sorry, go ahead.
I'll let you speak after I finish this quick point. But I'm very sorry, but I you know, like that I guess that's just the irony of the I guess that's just the irony of the reality, because you know, we're not evolved enough yet. It's something that we need to solve real soon.
How much, sorry to butt in, how much more evolving does the human species need to go through?
Well, also, how can we evolve if we can't decide on one way or another? I mean, that's how we evolve, by making changes. And
I would think it starts with, I don't know, one thing, like, okay, the right wing just declares, okay, let people have their contraceptives so we don't have a growing crisis of abortions. How about that? Put in their words, crisis, okay?
Well, we're not all donating to TYT, so we've got a long ways to go, in my opinion.
What's also funny is it's just the hypocrisy of either way. Like politically, you have politicians that are against abortions, and then you find out in history that they told like their mistress to have an abortion, right? Mm-hmm. It's like they're against gay marriage, and all of a sudden you hear stories that they've been having gay sex. It's just the hypocrisy of politicians in general. It doesn't matter.
When I try to focus on like the opposing view on abortion, because I'm pro-choice, as you might say, okay, like, I choose to deal with the honest actors and look at their philosophy, which is they really do believe that this is murder. Mm-hmm. Okay, so how do you expect them to act? They're seeing murder. Mm-hmm. Of course they're going to object to it. All mm-hmm. right. So it's rather than paint them as or just focus on the fringes of their movement, like the abortion doctor killers and the people who don't believe in contraception. I think we as the left, if we want to have real communication with these people, we have to react to their center rather than their fringes.
Yeah.
And we have to try to connect with those people.
I mean, but there's the vast majority. Now, here's the thing: is for the ones that don't want more murder for the fetus, is if they're forced to have the baby, what's the situation? Do they want the state to have the baby? Do they want the state to pay for? Say the reason why they may not have the baby is they just can't afford it, or they're too young.
My friend. I'm sorry, but my friend put it best when he said they want, to force women to have babies so that they can die in the military.
Just going back, like when Garden Gnome was making fun of TYT again, like he's never done that ever.
Well, I'm going to do a 180 at one point, and it's Anyway,
I watched the episode today on the police brutality, and I got to say they were pretty on the money with that.
Did you research the case yourself at all? If they were issuing a specific case, because really you can't trust the facts they report you.
No, they were talking about. They showed footage of police beating this guy up. Like literally pounding his face in. Like the cop took 6 or 7, punched him 6 or 7 times to the face and knocked him out.
See,
while he was in custody.
That's the thing that's so dangerous about these organizations like TYT, the value narrative over truth, because the truth is there is a problem with police violence, and specifically there is a problem with police violence against minorities. All right. But then TYT will misreport these stories for weeks on end, never correct themselves. It all turns out to be bullshit. And like, then people begin dismissing the problem altogether. They're like, it's all bullshit.
Yeah, they showed 3 parts to it.
What show was it? Like,
It's just on TYT. Just on TYT.
The main show?
The main show.
Okay.
I don't watch it anymore, so I mean, I watched it for a couple months during the primary, and then I stopped.
This one didn't. All they called for was look into police brutality. That's all they were asking for, and they showed the guy getting punched numerous amounts of times in the face, and then they showed one where cops dropped a 84-year-old stroke victim to the ground, female, and dropped her to the ground because she was belligerent. And apparently the son had already called them beforehand to say, look, you know, she's a stroke victim and she's a bit out of it. And then they showed the guy in Las Vegas who was told to stand up, sit down, move around, don't move, up and down, move down, and then got shot. So shot dead. So yeah, I mean, the way that the footage come across, I don't think there's any need for what happened.
So this is slightly different, but does anyone happen to know if a TYT, for example, did they cover when Ray McGovern was wrestled to the ground when he was protesting Haskell?
Yes, they did.
They did cover it.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't watch them anymore, so I don't have any idea what.
Ryan, can I ask you about the first case, if I can? So, like, this took place in a hallway, right, with multiple cops?
Yep.
Okay, yeah, I'm in that city right now, and I can tell you like the entire fact that is real. That's real.
Yeah, I saw it.
Punch.
Yeah.
Elbow.
Can I tell you something else about this particular police department? It went viral as well, but there was this guy. He was in a hotel. He was crawling on the floor, and this cop was, screaming at him and shot him dead.
Did he die?
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that one. That was like a year ago, right? Or something.
Yes. Well, yeah, but it was released sometime this year.
Well, another one that came out of Phoenix was when they handcuffed that woman to that chair and she died. Do you remember that one, Truth?
Yes.
They detained her at Sky Harbor for some stupid shit. She had a severe medical problem. They kind of roughed her up, and then they handcuffed her.
But you can still get a sense of how they treated her. Take a look.
No.
You know what's going on, and we need to get that cleared up. Movies, right? Keep coming back here. Take her out. Take her out.
It's been fuzzed on
This way, man. Thank you very much. Come back here. Come on because you are not following my directions.
It's a bit better.
Do not.
By the way, she's 84.
Oh.
And it just slammed her to the ground. And she's a stroke victim. And Jenk made a fair call. Do you think Diane Feinstein, she's 84, would she be ever be treated like that? Answer is no.
If they do something like that to me or my family, they better kill me. If I get out, I'm gonna go after them.
And that's what the cop did to Daniel Shaver.
53.
So,
at least the
here
video.
are the injuries. Hang on.
To show you.
I just can't stand
who had
looking
just
at.
suffered a stroke.
Yeah.
There's more photos. Let's go to 53 and 54. So later, the cops agreed to release video.
Okay, and then we all know this one. The
that's the one.
Simon, the
Arizona again.
Yeah,
So-
Fatal Simon says.
The problem, I mean, the problem is, you know, the mentality within the police departments and the people that are attracted to go into that in a lot of cases. I mean, that's the, I don't know how you change that. It's
He was playing pretend that he was in the military. Like, a lot of these people really don't know what it's like to be threatened, and I think that's what makes, you know, even though I don't like either, you know, police state or military, you know, people who are in the military have a better understanding of what, like, to be through pain, unlike cops, since they handle, you know, like, domestic situations, not foreign.
But
where they're
that's a problem in itself. Like, we're getting too many of these ex-military, and they're not trained as civilian police officers.
But here in Arizona, the Oath Keepers, they're tracking down the people who are trafficking children, the immigrant children. So, like, you know, like whereas you'll see other police people or just ICE personnel, you know, treating the people like utter crap, you know, the power trip. And that's the thing where I say there's a better encoding of honor in military people, even though I'm against the military, well, in its current form, and the police state, because the police state, you're protected, like, you know, like you're the most powerful bully in town.
Well, it's crazy. Like, I used to go down to Florence, right? And there's this bar that's like right on the dried up Gila River. And a lot of those Oath Keepers and a lot of those, like, what's the name of the other group? I can't remember their names. They would go wander around that area. They would come into this bar. And they were like just a bunch of weekend warriors, dude. They just thought that they were fucking badasses roaming around the desert. I mean, I can't say that they were saying anything evil, and they never said that they did anything evil, but I just can't see these guys doing much except shooting their mouth off and riding around on ATVs.
You have got to meet the people a part of the backyard brawl. They are upstanding, and, like, you know, I see these people. I think I'm inspired. So people are different, you know, all around.
Yeah, definitely.
But I only speak to my experience with these Oath Keepers over here, because I'm launching my own little investigation, you know, ever since I found out that, you know, there have been thousands of children misplaced. I don't care which president, you know, is responsible for which percentage. I really don't. These are children, right? So that's something that's been on my mind, and I'm inspired by these people.
You see, I always kind of felt guilty for not doing the opposite of that, because I lived right in that area. And if I could have, like, because there are some legal costs, risks to it, but I could have, like, filled up some jugs of water and just left them out in a few places. And I probably should have done that when I lived down there. I don't give a shit, man. If people are dying out in the desert, then give them some fucking water. You know, and, like, a lot of these Oath Keeper groups and stuff, they go around, like, destroying camps and kicking over water, and I don't like that.
Yeah, I just fed up with. I mean, it's becoming prevalent in Australian policing as well. The whole idea that absolutely everything's a threat. Doesn't matter if you're, if the police are there on a welfare check or whatever. If you do not comply, you will suffer the consequences. And the consequences are at the hands of the police and not the courts.
Yeah, part of the reason I don't participate in, like, protest type things. I mean, you know, there were a lot going on here. The Moral Mondays thing in North Carolina, the William Barber was doing. And, you know, I know people that were going there and you're volunteering to get arrested. I'm not volunteering for that. I'm just not. I mean, I was in Philly DNC week, but I don't get down, and I'm not going to volunteer to be manhandled by the cops. It's not a thing. I don't really see what good it does either. I mean, there are people that I just don't see what good it does. At Unrig the System, they have like a workshop on how to protest, and it sounds really bad. I think I talked about this after that summit, but they were like training people, like, okay, well, like, fall to the ground and shout really loudly, and I'm thinking, why? What is this going to do? They're just going to tase you or spray you with pepper spray. They don't give a shit. They just, you being in the street, like yelling about all this stuff, doesn't do any good. And I actually had this argument with my friend, the liberal attorney, who was kind of taunting me, like, well, you should be involved in this, like come down here and basically volunteer to get arrested. And I'm like, do you think that the Republican representatives in Raleigh that are there representing the people back home in their district in the western part of the state that elected them, do you think that those guys give a shit that you're out here, like, you're in this blue part of the state and you're like screaming about all this stuff and you're just blocking traffic? I don't know. I just don't.
So
I don't see the point.
Is that dude aware of your health conditions?
Well, exactly. Actually, that's the ex-friend of mine. Yes, she was.
So that's just being
she was being a total bitch about it, basically, because she wanted me at one point. She was trying to pull me into this debate with her Trumpian, as she said, neighbors, and I was like, "You're not going to like what I have to say, because I don't take your side." And she basically just said that. Again, that was kind of when I say people go to personal attacks now. That's what I'm talking about. We were having a debate back and forth. This was shortly after the election, and I just kept getting a lot of hate for that we voted Jill Stein. But I was trying to kind of give her information. She asked me some questions. I would send her stuff, and then she finally, that was her. Well, you should be, out, volunteering at the marches. Like, yeah, she knows I have spinal fluid leaks. Like that's like the last thing I need to do. Like,
yeah, I mean, the thing that really bugs me the most is that you have a medical condition, right? And then you've got people who expect you to go out and protest. Put yourself in a situation where you could be accosted by police who could not give two flying fucks about your medical.
They could put
they just do not care.
Here's
they
the thing.
do not care.
And I do far more than that lady has done. I mean, so what if I'm not out,
Yeah, in my opinion, if people want you to go out and protest, they need to have people with armed people to protect those people who are protesting. Armed people plus with those same ballistic shields as the police officers have. And if they get interviewed as to, hey, why are you out here in these protests with all these weapons? Look, we're expressing our First and Second Amendment rights, and if the police officers do not respect those rights, they're violating the Constitution. So
you don't want to get into a.
It doesn't. No. That's the only way you can protect the First and Second Amendment and have these marches and prevent those types of situations.
Dude, if you
where the cops end up killing someone and then they get away with it. I'm sorry. That's the only way to do it.
Whatever happened?
No, they won't. They're beating us at the game already. So I don't know what you're saying as far as don't do it.
If you were to bring like a bunch, because they would then consider that a weapon. You'd be armed.
We are allowed to be armed within this country,
but not in like.
They're not gonna. They're not look. There are videos where people are protesting with guns with them, and you know what? You don't see those situations occurring. You know why? Because the cops aren't gonna want to firefight with ordinary civilians when they're in the wrong.
They're not going to want to firefight with them either.
Can
I there are people who want to.
What happened with the girl who had her arm like blown off at
Oh yeah, Standing Rock. Yeah.
Yeah.
Look at that.
The other thing that protesters need to keep in mind is that they are in civilian areas. All right. So when you bring a bunch of guns, it's not just you and the cops. It's all the people around.
Yeah, and you know what? The civilians aren't the one who's going to start firing on cops.
No, but
it's
they
the
might
cops
catch
who
a
start
fucking
firing on the
bullet.
civilians, and that's why the guns are there. That's the whole point of the First and Second Amendment. The Second Amendment is to protect the first. The first is supposed to protect the second. And if you're not going to even exercise that right, what's the point of having that right, that freedom? So look, no one with those guns are going to go out and kill those police officers for a protest. They're not. The reason why they're there is to protect the civilians from the police state who are going to use those guns against the civilians.
You know,
So
you know what
the whole premise of your argument, Garden, is just wrong.
Can I say something?
Yeah, go ahead, Ryan.
You know that guy that military dude, that black guy who went out and killed 15 cops or whatever. I could imagine Ebon going out killing 15 cops and saying he's part of Asian Lives Matter.
He was
I totally agree with you,
YT
Ebon.
into doing it.
I totally agree with Ebon on that. I'm sorry, but if you've got the right, then I mean, go for it. I'm not. I fight against Ebon on a lot of things, guns, but I do agree with Ebon that you do have that right to go out and carry a gun. Then you should be allowed to go and do it. So,
Well, look at the level of the control these police departments have over their officers.
I worry just saying Asian lives matter that you just put a target on his head.
Yeah, because straight away, Black Lives Matter. It was straight away, oh, he's part of Black Lives Matter. And they're like, we don't know this. We know of this dude, but we didn't accept him. He's not part of us. But,
And I'll concede this point, yeah, and like there might come a point where it comes to that. I don't think that we're at that.
Ebon, I sent you, I just put in the Zoom chat a link that you might want to show. It's interesting. You know.
I gotta sign off. My
it's getting late.
headache. The coffee's not doing it, so I'm gonna lie down. But it was nice to see you all.
Yeah, it was nice seeing you.
Have a good night, everybody.
Yeah,
good night.
Yeah, and nice to actually talk to you, Ryan. I don't think we actually talked before, so
nope.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to
okay,
meet you.
and William, Truth. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Good night.
Oh, I'm gonna try to get. Let's try to get Mark Crispin Miller on one of these things. Interview.
That'd be great.
Discussion. Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything he said, I was like, man, I like this guy. And
yeah.
He was just one of the guys that was on the visual where like I didn't know who he
was.
was.
You hadn't heard him before?
Mm-mm. And then,
I just caught him on, I think it was like Chris Hedges' show or a couple of places like that over time. So yeah, he makes sense.
Yeah. All right.
Good thing. Okay.
Good
night,
night, everybody. Thanks for coming on.
Right.
Are you going to, Ebon?
I'm trying to go to sleep.
Oh, I didn't know you. I thought the only person that was going was Kelly, but now everybody's going. Fine, leave the Australian hanging. I was going to show you. Can I show you this one quick video?
All right.
Really quickly. It's only 2 minutes. So this guy had a welfare check done on him in Australia. So I'm pretty sure I've just seen you. All right. So they've armed police officers. 6 of them. They're asking him to come out. So he's telling her to fuck off, basically.
Not gonna happen, mate. Open the door. I don't want to.
Can you hear that?
No, I can't. I'm alright. I just gotta get through this. Alright? Get the crowbar and you have to shoot me. Come on, let's just go.
So they've pepper sprayed him. This cop here beats him on the leg.
Jesus.
All right.
That was not necessary.
Yeah, wait, it gets worse. Steps on his head. Stands on his head. This is because his psychologist called a welfare check on him. Full spray of a hose in the face. Full spray. That's a pressurized nozzle. And that's painful.
What's that supposed to do?
Wash away the...
Oh.
the pepper spray.
Yeah.
Because as soon as he opened the door, they pepper sprayed him.
Oh yeah, okay.
They're like, open the door. You have to open the door. Opens the door, bang, pepper spray, and pulled him out, and then beat him. This cop up top here, see the cop up the top? He's got his cell phone out.
Yeah, I think I heard some laughing too.
Yeah, he takes his cell phone out. This guy's laughing over here on the right. All right, this guy's spraying. This guy's taking a photo, and you don't see when the paramedics just arrive. When the paramedics arrive, they put the water in a watering can for the paramedic to wash his face off. So they know spraying him in the face was wrong. That's Australia for you.
Yeah. It just aggravates it. You have to start with something like lemon juice and then something else like milk or something else. But it's a two-stage neutralizing before the water is supposed to go on.
Mm-hmm.
And even if you do use water, it's supposed to be 0.1% salt.
Because they just don't care, man. They don't care. And that's I mean, he's coming off opioid addiction, and he says at the very start, "I've got diarrhea. I'm throwing up," and he doesn't want to leave the house because he's throwing up and he's got diarrhea. They charged this guy. They charged him with criminal offenses, obstruction, resisting arrest, and all this other type of shit. And this is a welfare check. This is what happens when your psychologist, psychiatrist, GP, or anyone calls the police to do a welfare check on someone. The police come, and this is what they do. So that's Australia. In America, they probably would have shot him, but that's a different story.
They would have shot him first, then they would have jet sprayed him.
Yeah. All right, guys. Have a good one.
Yeah.
Good night.
Sweet dreams, everybody, after all this talk.
Love you, long time.
See you guys.